The scene opens with intense urgency. A brown-haired man reaches out with a strained, determined expression, shouting, "Wait for me!" As a golden crystal glows brilliantly above him, beside him the gaze of a mysterious creature adorned with pink crystals is revealed. Accompanied by the name Lily, Aiden reveals a hidden strength, summoning a magnificent pink crystal dragon. This overwhelming power is something that everyone envies. Driven by desperation and resolve, Aiden lunges forward alongside the massive crystalline dragon. He screams a vow into the air, swearing that he will save Lily. The scene shifts to a grim and desolate urban landscape. This is Zenis, the city of Valenza place that exists off the map and is known as the closest city to hell on earth. In the streets of Zenis, lawlessness reigns supreme, from menacing figures watching from the shadows to random acts of brutality in the alleys. The city is a chaotic melting pot of villains and monsters where strength is the only law. Amidst the brutality of Zenis, a man named Weiss appears, exuding a sense of calm and authority that sets him apart from the surrounding chaos. Wissy's gaze falls upon a small elf girl, bound in chains and looking utterly broken. As he examines her upward-pointing ears and aqua-colored hair, a sudden realization hits him. He wonders if this fragile child could actually be a high elf. The narrative explains the legend of the high elves, a mysterious subspecies unknown to the general public, distinguished by their light blue hair and upward-pointing ears. Once capable of wielding all forms of magic in the world, they were long believed to have gone extinct. Weiss stares at Era in disbelief, remembering an ancient book of high magic he once found in the capital. He had always believed high elves were merely fairy tales, but seeing her here makes him wonder what she is doing in a place like Zenis. Suddenly, Haru appears, cutting through the tension with a mocking "Yo, scumbag." Haru greets Weiss with eager subservience, asking about his work and the sale slaves. As they walk past the chained Era, Weiss mentions a massacre at a mansion on the hill and coldly notes that buying too many slaves is inefficient due to the cost of food and supervision. Era can only listen in silence, her expression filled with sorrow. Weiss is left stunned by a shocking revelation. A tearful store employee explains that the shop is closed because the owner, a rare and talented cook in Zenis, was suddenly abducted by men from the hill and sold into lifelong slavery. Weiss grabs the store employee by the collar, shouting at him for failing to help the shop owner. While the employee trembles in fear, Weiss is actually devastated by the loss of the only place in Zenis that serves fried chicken. Driven by his craving, he demands that the employee do something about the situation. Weiss doesn't just complain, he takes immediate, violent action. He summons a powerful magic circle, blasting a man in a suit with overwhelming force. As the man is thrown back in shock and terror, Weiss coldly asks if he truly believes he can get away with this. Weiss looks on with a cold, determined gaze, declaring that in Zenis there is no god to judge and no laws that exist to protect the wicked. As the magic strikes, the kidnapped shop owner is thrown into a panic, screaming in sheer terror. Overwhelmed with gratitude, the shop owner asks Weiss how he can possibly repay him for the rescue. Weiss, driven by his own desires, simply tells him to open the shop tomorrow, a request the owner happily accepts. But the cruelty of the mansion doesn't end there. Deep in the basement, hidden from sight, are dark cells used to hold slaves, where Era remains huddled in despair. The basement reveals a grim sight. Numerous elf slaves huddled behind bars in despair. Weiss looks on, admitting he hadn't realized the scale of the imprisonment. Haru explains that after the recent incident, thieves had discovered the cells, and he is now overwhelmed. Unable to handle such a large number of slaves on his own, Weiss thoughtfully considers the predicament. He concludes that the only way to manage the situation is to split the slaves up among different merchants, while Era and the other elves can only look on in hopelessness. In the streets of Zenis, Haru reports that most of the elf slaves have already been sold. However, one girl remains. Haru dismisses her as useless, while Weiss observes that her hair color is strange and her ears are deformed. Looking at the fragile and scarred girl, Weiss realizes that her deformities are likely the result of cruel experiments conducted by the mansion owner. While Haru dismisses her as useless, Weiss suspects that Era might actually be a high elf, a rarity worth millions of Zenisa value, that someone as ignorant as Haru could never possibly understand. Haru expresses his frustration, callously suggesting that if Era cannot be sold, he might just throw her onto the streets to be left for the wild dogs. However, Weiss remains calm and asks for her price, leaving Haru shocked and questioning if he actually intends to buy the girl he considers useless. Haru tries to steer Weiss toward better options, callously referring to Era as a piece of shit who would be useless to him. However, Weiss is unfazed and even amused by the insult. With a dominant presence, Weiss declares that he will take the leftover girl, claiming he simply wants to help Haru with his business, leaving Haru stunned. Haru offers a discounted price of 220 Zenis, but Weiss generously pays 300 instead. Overjoyed by the payment, Haru showers Weiss with praise, calling him the best brother. Though Weiss tells him to stop flattering him, Weiss then tells Haru to take off Era's chains, and Haru begins to unlock them as Era looks on. Haru unlocks Era's chains, telling her it's time to go. However, as Weiss looks at the young Era, he notices with concern that she shows no reaction at all, remaining hollow and broken even after being freed. Looking at the hollow expression on Era's face, Weiss wonders what horrors she has endured to be left in such a state. To him, it feels as though her very consciousness has died. He crouches beside her and calls out, gently urging her to get up and follow him. Era remains lost in a vacant daze, her eyes empty and unresponsive. Weiss lets out a heavy sigh, saddened by her broken state. He then gently reaches out and takes her small hand in his gloved one, guiding her to move. Haru bows and thanks Weiss for the purchase. As Weiss leads the vacant-eyed Era away, he reflects on his impulsive decision, admitting to himself that he knows nothing about parenting. He simply tells her, "Let's take a walk." Weiss walks down the cobblestone street, holding Era's small hand as they move away from the crowd. As he leads the silent girl, he reflects on how being a father for the first time feels like walking blind in the dark. Back at his house, Weiss considers a few different names for the young elf Melody, Eisen, Josephina, and Montblanchin, but he still isn't convinced by any of them. Weiss continues to brainstorm, suggesting names like Leonore, Luna, Rose, Christine, and Elise. He asks Era which one she would prefer. But her silence leaves him wondering if she is unable to speak, unwilling to, or if she simply doesn't understand his words. Looking at the unresponsive girl, Weiss realizes the depth of her trauma. He suspects that Era has been a slave since the moment she was born, leaving her without a sense of self or the ability to communicate. With a determined resolve, he decides that the first thing he must do is teach her how to talk. As he contemplates his new role, Weiss is reminded of the cold reality of his own existence. He acknowledges that he is not a good person, but rather someone whose only purpose has been to destroy and kill, viewing a sense of justice as entirely pointless. As he thinks of the miserable lives of enslaved elves, Weiss admits that no one person can make everyone happy. However, he confesses that the existence of such cruelty still bothers him, and that feeling is the only measure of right and wrong he has. With a determined look, Weiss makes a vow. He decides that he will not raise Era as a slave, but as his own daughter. He acknowledges that his first priority is to help her become conscious of herself, so that the first words she ever speaks can be the choice of her own name. With a gentle pat on her head, Weiss looks at Era with a warm smile and makes a heartfelt declaration. "From today, I'm your dad," he tells her, asking for her acceptance as he begins his new role as her guardian. Weiss points to himself, and then to Era, simply explaining, "I dad you, daughter," he asks if she understands. And Era looks back at him with a puzzled yet curious expression, letting out a soft as she tries to grasp the meaning of these new words. Weiss looks up at Era, who sits silently on the chair. Despite his firm decision, he is suddenly struck by a sense of confusion, wondering what he should actually do next in this new role. This is the story of how Weiss became a father. However, the romanticized idea of parenthood is quickly shattered when he discovers Era has wet the bed. Panicking and overwhelmed, Weiss realizes that the road ahead will be incredibly tough. A summary of the previous chapter reminds us of the sudden challenge Weiss faced. Era had a big accident and wet the bed. While the little Era sleeps soundly and blissfully, Weiss can only look on with a weary, contemplative sigh. Weiss sits in regret, realizing that he could have avoided the accident if he had simply remembered to take Era to the bathroom before bed. He reflects on how he had impulsively bought her, thinking that caring for a simple elf wouldn't be a big deal. However, he now understands that while he is usually capable, parenting is an entirely new and daunting experience. Weiss imagines the struggle of raising a child as being as perilous as entering an unexplored dungeon at its lowest level without any equipment. He admits to himself that he may have been negligent, but he quickly brushes it off with a confident smirk, deciding that he can think about Era's name at a later time. While she looks on with a grumpy expression, Weiss bluntly tells Era that she smells awful and declares it's bath time. He then proceeds to wash her with hot water, while the little Era sits quietly on a small stool. Weiss laughs as he covers Era in soap, teasing her that she looks like a ghost. However, as he scrubs her hair, he is shocked by the amount of grime coming out, leading him to wonder if this was her first time ever taking a bath. Weiss playfully shapes soap bubbles on Era's head into waves, a cat, and ice, laughing at the silly results. He hopes these antics will finally get a reaction out of her, but Era remains completely expressionless. Looking at her stoic face, Weiss sighs, realizing that the road to winning her heart will be a long one. Just as the bath is over, Weiss is hit by a sudden, horrifying realization. He screams in absolute despair, clutching his head as he remembers that he doesn't have a single piece of clothing, not even underwear, that would fit Era. As a temporary fix, Weiss wraps Era in a large piece of cloth. Looking at the small Era bundled up, He wonders if this will suffice for now and resolves to buy her appropriate clothing first thing in the morning. Weiss carries Era upstairs, apologizing once more for the makeshift clothing and promising to resolve it tomorrow. Upon reaching the bedroom, he shows her a comfortable bed, warmly telling her that this is where she will sleep from today onward. Weiss tells Era it's time to sleep, and Era admits she feels really tired. However, as Weiss prepares to settle in, he suddenly remembers that he hasn't given her anything to eat yet. Weiss checks his kitchen, only to find that he has plenty of alcohol, but almost no actual food. He realizes he can't take Era out to eat because of her temporary clothing. With no other options, he prepares a small plate of jerky and dry bread, hoping she will at least eat a little. Weiss helps Era sit down, but realizing the table is too high for her, he quickly finds a box to serve as a small table. Once settled, Era begins to eat the simple meal with surprising gusto. Weiss watches Era eat with a pained satisfaction, realizing that she must have been starving for a long time. Heartbroken by the thought of the harsh life she has led, he softly apologizes to her and promises that he will get her something much better to eat later. Ice tells Era to listen as he explains that he has prepared drinks and secured the house by putting away dangerous items and controlling the fire. He then gently informs her that he is going shopping and will leave her alone for a short while. Weiss looks at Era, wondering if she even understands what he is saying. Despite his doubts, he takes every possible precaution to keep her safe, casting intruder prevention barriers at the stairs and kitchen, and applying softening magic to the floor. He feels conflicted about leaving a child alone, but knows he has no other choice. After closing the door, Weiss activates a magical barrier that prohibits any entrance from the outside to ensure Era's absolute safety. With a determined expression, he shouts that hell be right back and speeds away from the house. Weiss bursts into a shop, desperately shouting that he needs help. A blonde elf woman working there responds calmly, asking what he needs before realizing that he is Weiss. Weiss urgently informs Rin that he has come to buy girls' clothes. When Rin asks what he needs, Weiss explains that he bought a slave elf girl who wasn't selling. This revelation leaves Rin completely stunned, leading her to ask if he kidnapped someone, much to Weiss' annoyance. Rin suspiciously asks if Weiss has a thing for little girls, causing him to react defensively and claim it was just a whim. Admitting he knows nothing about children's clothing, Weiss slams his hand on the counter and demands that Rin pick out an outfit for the girl. Rin asks if Weiss intends to buy out the whole shop, noting that women's clothing is typically expensive. She tells him that 5 gold coins will be more than enough for several outfits. Weiss, confused about the pricing, admits he isn't clear on the costs, leading Rin to tease him for knowing so little about the world, despite his reputation as a wise man. Ultimately, Rin assures him she can handle the shopping, and Weiss gratefully accepts her help. Rin asks about the elf girl's age, and Weiss gestures with his hands to indicate her small size. Rin promises to prepare the right clothes, and as Weiss leaves the shop, she becomes visibly thrilled. Holding up a cute, frilly dress with hearts in her eyes, Rin decides to close the shop early, unable to contain her excitement to meet the little girl. Weiss returns home, calling out as he enters the house. He eagerly asks Era if she has been a good girl, finding the little Era sitting quietly and waiting for him. Weiss reveals the various items he bought during his trip, including bread and bottles. He notices that Era hasn't moved an inch since he left, which surprises him. Deciding to provide for her, Weiss heads to the kitchen and rolls up his sleeves, confidently declaring that while he doesn't usually cook, he is the kind of man who can make anything. Weiss presents a steaming bowl of stew, asking Era if it looks delicious. Noticing her unfamiliarity, he kindly explains that utensils are used for eating and demonstrates exactly how to use a spoon to scoop the food. Weiss brings a spoonful of food to Era's lips, encouraging her to try it. Era looks on with wide, curious eyes before opening her mouth to take the first bite. Era takes a bite of the food, her expression softening with satisfaction. Weiss watches her with a proud smile, encouraging her to keep eating and praising her progress. Rin arrives at Weiss' house, burdened by an overwhelming pile of clothing she prepared for Era. Weiss is stunned by the volume of outfits, while Rin apologizes for the interruption and asks to come inside, offering to take back anything that doesn't fit. Rin is instantly captivated by Era's adorable appearance, jokingly remarking that it makes sense why Weiss would develop a soft spot for little girls. But as she observes the girl more closely, Rin becomes curious, noting that while elves typically have green hair, Era's hair is blue. Weiss admits that Era's rarity is what prompted him to buy her. Excited, Rin tells Weiss to step back so she can help the girl try on the new clothes. As Weiss moves away, it is revealed that Era is actually a high elf, a secret that remains unknown even to Rin. Despite her high status in the elf kingdom, the mystery of Era's heritage deepens, as high elves were believed to be extinct or secretly hiding within the elven kingdom. Inside the room, Rin is completely smitten, shouting about how beautiful Era is. Weiss, waiting outside, is visibly irritated by her noise and tells her to shut up. Finally, Rin calls out to him, letting him know he can come back in. Era steps out in her new outfit, looking absolutely precious in the frilly, flower-patterned dress. The sheer level of her cuteness is so overwhelming that it leaves everyone completely stunned. Staring at Era in her new dress. He can't believe the transformation, and far exceeds like a different person. Sees his expectations. He sincerely thanks Rin for her help, to which she playfully reminds him that she's already charged him for the service. Rin also mentions that she's prepared underwear and pajamas for the little girl, leaving Weiss deeply grateful. Rin tells Weiss that he can always ask for her help as he raises Era. After seeing Rin off, prepares Era for sleep, noting that Rin had provided Amas as well. As he looks at Era in her sleepwear, he is struck by how truly adorable she is. The next morning, Weiss wakes up and stretches, feeling well rested. As he looks over, he notices Era still fast asleep, clutching her blanket and sleeping peacefully. Era wakes up with a look of confusion, wondering what is happening. Weiss watches her, thinking that this small shift in her behavior might be a significant step forward. He feels optimistic, believing that she is finally allowing him into her heart, and that the day they can truly communicate is drawing near. Weiss enthusiastically reminds Era of his name, giving her a confident thumbs up in hopes of a breakthrough. However, Era simply stares back with a blank expression, offering no reaction at all. Crushed by the silence, Weiss slumps over the table in total defeat. Weiss reflects on Era's complete lack of reaction, realizing that he must resolve this indifference before they can even begin to communicate. Frustrated and confused, he wonders what is going on in her mind, admitting to himself that since he has lived his entire life without children, he has no idea how to handle a child's thoughts. Weiss leans back in his chair, pondering his own past as he looks at the silent Era. He realizes that he too had a childhood, and a memory surfaces of his younger self, confidently reaching out while manifesting a powerful magic circle. In his flashback, Weiss remembers being hailed as an extraordinary genius at a young age. Born into a prominent family in the capital, he was praised for his mastery of high magic, with adults predicting a prestigious future for him in the magic ministry. It was a problem-free childhood, where his path to success seemed guaranteed. Weiss recalls having a loving family and a pleasant time during his school years. However, he admits that he couldn't endure the life path forced upon him, leading him to flee the capital. Now, as an adult, his early memories have blurred, though he occasionally wonders about the friends he left behind. Weiss remembers a girl from his school days, who was often dismissed by their peers as boring and unfunny, largely due to her unsightly glasses. While others looked down on her, Weiss saw her true beauty and felt a strange sense of comfort in her presence, even as rumors now suggest she has risen to a high position as the director's assistant. Weiss suddenly snaps awake, realizing he fell asleep and that it is now completely dark outside. He gently carries the sleeping Era to her bed. As he looks at her, he admits to himself that his own knowledge may not be enough to resolve her indifference, leaving him desperate and wondering who he can rely on to learn how to make a child happy. Rin suggests that Era's lack of energy is natural for a former slave, but Will still finds her total indifference concerning. Suddenly, Weiss remembers Loretson at the local tavern, a man who once raised 5 children. Despite Rin's skepticism about how long ago that was, she eagerly agrees to go, admitting she was already in the mood for a drink. Weiss and Rin arrive at the tavern to seek advice from Loretson. As they drink, Loretson bluntly tells them that the answer is simple: love. He explains that Era is currently lacking love and is desperate in this world, telling Weiss that giving her the love she lost is exactly what he must do. Weiss asks for more salt, while Rin is completely enamored with the taste of Loretson's special seasoning. Amidst the lighthearted moment, Loretson turns the conversation back to Era, advising Weiss that since he chose to raise her out of genuine feeling, he only needs to treat her from the heart. Rin suddenly bursts with energy, agreeing with Loretson that Weiss should give Era more love. As Weiss prepares to head home, Loretson reminds him not to just give Era leftovers. While Weiss thanks them and departs, Rin watches him with a playful smile, thinking that since Weiss lacks many qualities, he is best off being accompanied by an elf girl. Reflecting on the advice he received, Weiss decides that if love is what Era needs, he will provide it. He presents her with a special dessert, holding her close as he asks if she wants to be fed. With a gentle gesture, he offers her a spoonful of the treat, and Era looks on with curiosity. Weiss praises Era for finishing her dessert and gently pats her head, reflecting on how physical touch can help her feel loved. He then leads her to a warm bath to relax. As he helps her wash, Weiss remains determined to keep engaging with her, no matter how little she reacts. Weiss takes the time to teach Era the basics, gently showing her how to hold a spoon. He encourages her with every small success, believing that simply spending time together is the most important thing. He lifts her up joyfully, praising her efforts with excitement. For Era, these simple moments, family dinners and sleeping in the same bed, become precious experiences of being loved and praised. Reflecting on the memories of his own childhood and the love his parents once showed him, Weiss resolves to do the same for Era. He spends the evening reading to her before tenderly tucking her into bed, hoping to give her the warmth and security she has always lacked. Looking at the peacefully sleeping Era, Weiss feels a deep sense of responsibility. He knows he is a complete stranger to her, but he resolves to be everything she needs, both a father and a mother. Confident in his strength to overcome any obstacle, he vows to give his absolute best to raise her. As they lie together in quiet repose, a sudden and unexpected change is about to occur. Weiss stands before a collection of eggs, pondering the best way to prepare them for Era. He considers scrambled or fried eggs, but eventually decides that ham with eggs and bread would be the perfect choice. His dedication to her care is evident even in the small detail of planning her morning meal. He is caught completely off guard when he realizes Era has woken up and tried to walk by herself. Surprised by her sudden independence, he gently pets her head, worried that something might be wrong or that she is in pain. Weiss remains confused by Era's unexpected behavior. As they eat breakfast, he gently guides her hand, teaching her how to hold a fork, while wondering what is causing this sudden change in her. Era diligently tries to eat with the fork, spurred on by Weiss's enthusiastic encouragement. Watching her, Weiss feels a sense of joy, seeing her grow day by day. Although they still cannot have a conversation and her sudden change in behavior remains a mystery, he is happy to see her becoming more active. Weiss looks at Era with a tender, thoughtful expression, wondering why he feels so overwhelmed with joy. He gently reaches out to touch her cheek, deeply moved by the fact that she is becoming more aware of him and the world around her. Bursting into the tavern with uncontrollable excitement, Weiss shouts for everyone's attention. A bewildered Loretsan and Rin look on as Weiss breathlessly reveals the great news. Era has finally managed to eat by herself. While Rin is more focused on Weiss' messy clothes from his morning's chores, Weiss insists she be surprised by something far more important. He enthusiastically reveals that Era has made incredible progress, managing to walk and sit in a chair on her own. Loretsan and Rin are deeply moved, praising Weiss for the love and dedication he has shown in helping Era grow. Weiss is taken aback when Rin mentions his love for Era, modestly claiming he hasn't done anything special. Loretsan, visibly moved, tells him that his care is evident and that he has truly become a father figure. Weiss reflects on this, admitting that he did indeed decide to raise Era as his own daughter. Weiss wears a confident, almost smug grin. Seeing this, Era mimics his expression, her eyes sparkling with determination as she tries to act just like her father figure. Overwhelmed with pride, Weiss pulls Era into a tight, excited hug, shouting praises for her hard work. He is amazed by her incredible memory as they continue their practice, with Era successfully repeating various syllables. Era makes a curious sound, prompting Weiss to look at her with a questioning glance. As she tries to speak again, Weiss guides her, noting that she's not quite there yet, and helping her refine the pronunciation. Weiss decides to call it a day, noting that Era is struggling with the air sound, but he gently reassures her that there is no rush and that her progress is more than enough. As he tells her it's time to eat and sets her down, Era's eyes light up with excitement, and she eagerly rushes forward toward the food. With a burst of energy, Weiss announces that he is going to make something incredibly delicious for their meal. Era watches him with wide, expectant eyes as Weiss heads to the kitchen, humming to himself while deciding what to prepare. As they look through a book, Era excitedly points at the pictures, shouting cat, dog, and bear. Weiss is genuinely impressed, wondering if she can already read. He admits to himself that he had originally planned to name her after the first word she spoke in celebration, but found the process much trickier than he had anticipated. Era enthusiastically identifies more animals in the book, shouting cow and elephant, leading Weiss to comment on her love for animals. When she correctly names a hippopotamus, Weiss internally notes that such a word certainly can't be used as her name. As she attempts to name a camel, she struggles before excitedly shouting Camus, causing Weiss to laugh and tell her she was close. A flashback reveals how they obtained the book. Era looks on with sparkling eyes, excitedly trying to say animals but pronouncing it as sanimas. Haru, the bookseller, tells Weiss that while the girl really wants one, there are no other animal books in stock besides the illustrated one already on the counter. Continuing the flashback, the search for more books is hindered by the cluttered state of the shop. Haru admits he can't find anything in the mess due to his injured back, suggesting they come back later. Weiss considers the situation for a moment before Aiden decides to take action. Holding Era securely in one arm, Aiden uses his abilities to clear the pile of books, offering his help to the struggling shopkeeper. Aiden uses his magic to clear the clutter, sending books swirling through the air. Era watches in awe, excitedly shouting "bird" as the books flutter around them. Aiden smiles warmly, telling her that they are indeed like small birdies, and suggesting it's time to put the little birds to sleep. Haru watches in awe as the books swirl through the air, questioning what kind of magic Aiden is using. Aiden simply chuckles, keeping his abilities a secret, and tells the shopkeeper that he can now proceed with the search. Realizing he has no choice but to accept the help, Haru asks once more which book they were looking for. Aiden is pleased that they managed to find the book Era wanted. He warmly promises to read it to her before they go to bed. While walking, he thoughtfully considers what to prepare for dinner, deciding on some stew, as Era gazes at her new book with sparkling eyes of excitement. Era gazes with pure joy at the cute animal illustrations in her new book. Meanwhile, in the kitchen, Aiden carefully prepares the stew, adding a few tablespoons of seasoning while Lily's name crosses his mind. Suddenly, Era shouts Lily with pure excitement while absorbed in her book. Startled, Aiden looks over, but his surprise quickly turns into realization. He notices that Era has correctly pronounced the L sound, a small but meaningful victory in her learning to speak. Aiden encourages Era, praising her for saying the name correctly. He points out that Lily Reed is actually the author's name on the book, laughing and telling her it was just a lucky guess. But as he stares at the name Lily on the cover, a look of surprise and realization crosses his face. The name Lily brings back a cherished memory. In a flashback, Aiden looks at the young Era with a smile, deciding that her name will be Lily. Overjoyed, he lifts her high in the air, proudly declaring her his daughter, Lily Frenberg. The flashback reveals how Lily's name became a part of her identity. With the innate intellect of a high elf, she learns rapidly and captures the hearts of everyone in Zenis with her radiant smile, becoming a source of healing for the people. However, despite her popularity, Aiden remains ever vigilant, protectively warning others not to touch her with their dirty hands. Lily confidently asks for juice and cookies for herself and some sake for her father, leaving the people around her deeply impressed. Aiden beams with pride, boasting that her brilliance is because she is his daughter. As the flashback ends, Aiden reflects on how Lily is growing day by day, accepting his role in her life. Lily cheerfully exclaims what a beautiful day it is while riding on Aiden's shoulders. Though Aiden warns her to hold on tight, he smiles warmly, thinking that even the sun must love Lily. The two then happily walk off together, their bond as father and daughter evident in every moment. Lily bursts into the shop with excitement, shouting for Holonichan. The Rin warmly welcomes them, noting Lily's energy. Aiden apologizes for their frequent visits, but Holonichan insists they are always welcome. When Lily insists on seeing some clothes, reminds her of her promise not to buy anything today. Seeing this, Holonichan teases Aiden, remarking on how he has become such a strict father. Aiden doubles down on his strictness, insisting on rules like limiting candy and bedtimes to ensure Lily isn't spoiled. While he smugly believes he is the perfect father, Holonichan remains unconvinced. Then, the conversation takes a sudden turn as Aiden informs Holonichan that he will be leaving Zenis the following month, leaving her completely shocked. Aiden explains that Zenis is a poor environment for raising children, as Lily has almost no peers who aren't slaves. He believes there are things he cannot teach her alone, and expresses his desire to return to the capital to send her to school. When a shocked Holonichan asks why someone from the capital would come to a place like Zenis, Aiden casually admits that he ran away from the Ministry of Magic. Much to her disbelief, Aiden attempts to maintain his strict rules, telling Lily that they won't be buying anything today. But as he looks into Lily's teary, pleading eyes, his resolve vanishes instantly. He suddenly erupts, shouting for the shopkeeper to take his money. Rin watches the scene with a skeptical expression, doubting whether Aiden is truly capable of raising Lily alone, though she admits that sending her to school is a good idea. As Aiden prepares to leave Zenis, he shares a heartfelt goodbye with Rin and another local. They provide him with gifts, including city-style clothes for Lily and some salt. While Rin expresses her sadness at his departure, Aiden reflects on the city's violent history, admitting that he had to crush those he didn't like to keep the place under control. Weiss tells Rin that although he doesn't care much for what happens in Zenis, he is willing to come back and help her if she ever gets into trouble. The unexpected offer leaves Rin blushing and wondering if he is declaring his feelings for her. However, Loretzen interjects, explaining that it is merely a thank you, noting that Lily would still be naked if not for Rin's kindness. With a gentle smile, Weiss tells Rin to take care. After a final exchange of gratitude for the clothes Rin provided for Lily, Weiss calls for Lily and gets into the car. Rin and Loretzen stand side by side, watching in silence as the car drives away, marking the end of their time together in Zenis. A few days have passed since their departure from Zenis. As they approach the capital, Lily asks why they aren't using a carriage. But Weiss explains that they are almost there and will see the city once they exit the forest. Weiss carries Lily for a while before encouraging her to walk on her own. Despite the long journey, Lily carefully declares that she isn't tired because traveling with her dad is fun. As they emerge from the forest, the grand scale of the capital comes into view, leaving Lily completely amazed by the massive walls and architecture. Weiss explains that this is the city where he was born. He then asks Lily if she can do what he previously requested, and Lily, though nervous, promises to try her best. Lily gazes in wonder at the sprawling cityscape of the capital. Weiss, however, remains focused on the logistics of their entry, explaining that the city is protected by magic and has very strict access. He warns Lily to be on her best behavior and tells her to claim she was an orphan if questioned at the gate, to which Lily determinedly agrees. Weiss contemplates the risks of bringing Lily into the capital. He realizes that claiming she is his daughter is illogical due to her race, and claiming she is an orphan might lead to a request for documentation, with the grim reminder that slave trafficking is a capital offense. He feels the pressure to hide Lila's past at all costs, silently pleading for her to behave so they can successfully pass through the gates. Lily is absolutely thrilled to see the soldiers at the gate, her excitement leaving Weiss feeling exhausted. As they approach to enter the city, Weiss apologizes for the commotion and introduces himself as Weiss Frenberg, presenting Lily as his daughter. However, the soldier looks puzzled, noting that the name Weiss Frenberg sounds familiar to him. To ensure their entry, Weiss tells the guards to contact Ziggline, the assistant to the Minister of Magic, claiming that they will know exactly who he is. The guards are visibly shaken by the mention of the name, and one quickly rushes off to verify the information. With the first gate successfully passed, calmly explains to a curious Lily that Ziggline is a friend of his. While waiting for the guards to verify his identity, Lily asks Weiss if the person they are waiting for is as nice as Holo. Weiss describes her as a kind big sister, though he inwardly notes that she might treat Lily more like a study subject. As time passes and the guards take their time, Lily eventually falls asleep in Weiss' arms. As they wait for the guards to return, Weiss finds himself captivated by the sleeping Lily. He can't resist poking and squishing her soft cheek, looking at her with a tender fond smile. However, the quiet moment is abruptly shattered by a sudden interruption. The guards snap to attention with a formal salute as a woman arrives. Ziggline looks at Weiss and Lily, teasingly asking if appearing with a child is some kind of attack on her, simply smirks, replying that she still has no sense of humor and asking if she still wears those boring dark glasses. Ziggline Floyd, the assistant to the Minister of Magic, stands with a stern expression. The scene transitions to the imposing fortress of the Ministry of Magic and its elegant reception office. Lily remains fast asleep as Weiss lounges on a luxurious sofa, marveling at the apparent wealth of the Ministry of Magic. Ziggline dryly responds that they are not in know and remarks that neither of them has changed, leaving Weiss slightly puzzled. As Lily sleeps peacefully, mumbling about candy, Ziggline looks at her and asks Weiss if the girl is his real daughter. Suddenly realizing the truth, Ziggline exclaims about Lee's ears, admitting she was too nervous to notice she was an elf. Weiss can only stare at her, wondering how she could have missed something so obvious. As Lily continues to mumble in her sleep, Ziggline suddenly stops and shouts for them to wait. Weiss smirks, teasing Ziggline for being a spellbook nerd who failed to notice he was friends with elves before revealing that Lily is actually a high elf. This revelation sends Ziggline into a manic frenzy, screaming about the existence of high elves and demanding that Lily be taken to the lab immediately. Weiss, however, tells her to calm down before she wakes Lily up. As they talk over tea, Weiss opens up to Ziggline about his relationship with Lily. He explains that he found her a year ago and has been raising her ever since. With a serious expression, who spent an entire year unable to smile because of the trauma she endured. Driven by a protective love, Weiss shares that he returned to the capital, specifically, so Lily could go to school and experience the simple, normal joys of childhood, like playing and studying with friends. A brief flashback shows a desolate scene of Lily's suffering. Back in the present, Weiss looks at Ziggline with a desperate and sincere expression, pleading for her assistance to ensure Lily's happiness. Ziggline stares back, visibly moved and stunned by his heartfelt request. Ziggline suggests that the magic school of the capital, her own alma mater, would be the ideal place for Lily's education relieved. Weiss agrees but expresses further concerns for Lily's safety. He asks Ziggline for help in securing bodyguards and a safe house, fearing that Lily's identity as a high elf could make her a target. Ziggline reluctantly agrees to do what she can to help. Weiss firmly requests that Ziggline provide her own people as bodyguards and keep Lily's high elf heritage a secret, while Ziggline is stunned, arguing that such a rare being is a national asset. Weiss explains his desire to shield Lily from adult complications and social isolation. He simply wants her to experience a normal school life. Ziggline sighs, realizing that Weiss has always been a source of trouble for her. Ziggline apologizes and offers Weiss a substantial reward. Recognizing the difficulties Ziggline faces in her position, Weiss makes a proposal. He offers to assist her with her work at the Ministry of Magic, though he specifies that he will only do so as a personal employee. Weiss agrees to the arrangement. Ziggline is thrilled and immediately tells him to follow her, starting with the matter of the house. She warns him that she has many secret issues that cannot be brought to light and that he should be prepared to work hard. As Ziggline leads Weiss and Lily through the capital, she asks him how he feels about being back after so long. She points out the Gatrin magical artifacts shop, reminding a sheepish Weiss that he was once banned from the store because he accidentally deactivated the magic in all their merchandise, forcing Ziggline to apologize for him. Weiss examines a luxury magical artifact, skeptically noting that the concept of an owner's brand seems like nothing more than a business tactic. But as soon as he attempts to try it out, a sudden surge of energy erupts, neutralizing the magic of the surrounding items in an instant. As the shop owner screams in absolute horror, a nervous and sweating Weiss can only stammer that he was just trying it out. Ziggline reveals that her wealthy family stepped in to pay off a staggering debt of 43 million Zenis for Weiss just before he graduated. While Weiss modestly brushes it off, Ziggline recalls how he spent his school days tirelessly running missions for the Ministry of Magic to settle the amount. As they continue walking, Ziggline looks at him and bluntly remarks that if he had simply married her, he wouldn't have had to struggle to pay off the debt at all. Weiss is momentarily flustered by Ziggline's teasing, but his attention is quickly captured as they arrive at a stunning mansion. Amazed by the luxury of the building, Weiss questions the cost of such a prime location. Ziggline reveals that since the property is owned by the Ministry of Magic and funded by taxes, the rent is surprisingly reasonable. Weiss questions if such a luxurious house is really acceptable, only for Ziggline to bluntly tell him she'll make him work like a dog. As they approach the entrance, a confused Lily asks where they are. Ziggline describes the arrangement as a future investment and welcomes them inside, leaving Lily to wonder if this is her new home. Inside their new home, Weiss attempts to talk to Ziggline about himself and Lily, but Ziggline informs him that Lily is an elf with congenital anomalies. As Ziggline reassures Weiss that the residence is secure due to her nearby subordinates, Lily is completely captivated by her new surroundings, happily diving onto a large fluffy pillow. As Lily happily cuddles with her pillow, Ziggline watches her silently before asking if the girl has a mother. When Weiss reminds her that Lily is an orphan, Ziggline clarifies that she is referring to a mother figure for her current life, arguing that having both parents is better for a child's education. Weiss sighs in agreement, admitting that while it's true, he is powerless to change the circumstances. This admits that he currently has no wife or girlfriend. This leads Ziggline to seriously wonder if she should step in as Lai's mother. However, when the idea is brought up, Weiss is stunned, bluntly telling her that she isn't the type of person to be a mother offended. Ziggline snaps back, telling him not to underestimate her, and insisting that she has changed since their school days. Weiss wonders if Ziggline is truly that driven to investigate the supposedly extinct High Elves. However, as they continue discussing her offer to be a mother figure for Lily, Weiss bluntly notes that such a role would practically make her his wife. When he asks if she has a boyfriend, Ziggline snaps, shouting that she is single specifically because of him. Weiss is left bewildered by Ziggline's sudden outburst. Flustered and angry, Ziggline declares that everything is his fault, even her employment at the Ministry of Magic. She aggressively demands that he pay her back for all those years of debt, leaving a sheepish Weiss to simply apologize. Ziggline shifts her focus from Weiss to the young elf. After a brief and shy introduction where Lily identifies herself, Ziggline looks at her with a serious expression and asks, "Don't you want a mom?" Weiss is baffled, calling Ziggline a weirdo for asking such a question so soon. However, he quietly admits that he had thought much about a mother figure for Lily and wonders if she feels lonely. Ziggline, completely unfazed, boldly asks Lily if she would be okay with her becoming her mother. Lily can only respond with a hesitant. While Ziggline looks on with intense determination, Lily suddenly lunges forward and clings tightly to Ziggline, mentioning that she already has a father. Ziggline reacts with an overwhelming, almost manic level of excitement, causing Weiss to look on with concern and comment on how scary she can be. Weiss bluntly tells Ziggline that if she doesn't change her scary attitude, she'll never be able to be a mother, leaving her completely bewildered. Despite his harsh words, a memory of Lily softly calling out for a mom in her sleep lingers in his mind. Looking at the sleeping girl, Weiss finds himself reflecting on whether Lily truly needs a mother figure in her life. Weiss continues to think about Lily's longing for a mother, but his focus shifts to a school supply list in his hand. Lily notices and asks with curiosity if she is going to school. Weiss confirms that she will be studying, which makes Lily excitedly ask if she can go with him. However, Weiss gently explains that he has already graduated and doesn't need to attend anymore. Lily looks up at Weiss with admiration, thinking her dad is truly cool. As Weiss reads through the school supply list, he mentions the need for gym clothes and various magical items. He explains that these items, including wands, robes, and hats, are used to channel magical power at the academy. Sitting on the sofa with Lily, Weiss contemplates the best way to coordinate her gear, mentioning a brand called Bitney and wondering what the best choice would be for her. Weiss takes Lily out into the bustling city to gather her school supplies. Overwhelmed by the crowd and the new sights, Lily excitedly asks about everything they pass, from a bakery to a shoe store. As they stop in front of a clothing shop, Weiss continues to guide her through the unfamiliar environment. Lily spots a clothing store and excitedly calls out for Holo, but Weiss calmly tells her that Holo isn't there. As they step inside, a blonde shop assistant welcomes them with a smile. Lily is completely wide-eyed and amazed by the beautiful clothes surrounding her. The shop assistant asks Weiss if they are looking for school robes, to which he agrees. Lily introduces herself with excitement, telling Weiss that she wants to study hard so she can help him. Deeply moved by her words, Weiss reflects on how much Lily cares for him, while the assistant admires the bond between them. As the assistant explains that she is an expert wizard who handmakes all her products, Weiss is impressed and finds her voice strangely familiar. Just as Weiss finds the voice familiar, the store manager steps forward. The Esmeralda sensei greets him with a knowing smile, asking if he is indeed Weiss and wondering when he returned without her noticing. Completely taken aback, Weiss exclaims in shock, recognizing her as Esmeralda sensei. Weiss asks Esmeralda sensei if the shop is hers, noting that her name isn't on the sign. Esmeralda reveals that she started the business for fun 3 years ago, dismissing the idea of profit by stating she would have joined Bitten if money were her goal. As they talk, it is revealed that Esmeralda Eisenbarth was once the most talented magician in the imperial capital, and served as a teacher to both Weiss and Ziggline. Ziggline notices the familiarity between Weiss and Esmeralda sensei. The elderly teacher playfully claims that Weiss was the reason she dropped out of school, though Weiss quickly denies the accusation. Esmeralda sensei then suggests that it was simply time for a generational change, calling Weiss the new #1 in the imperial capital. As Ziggline teases Weiss for needing help, Lily, hidden under a cloth, seems completely overwhelmed by the conversation. Esmeralda sensei carefully adjusts the robe on Lily, showing her how to wear it. Lily looks delighted with her new outfit, and Esmeralda warmly tells her she looks great. But as the mood shifts, Esmeralda reveals a keen observation. Lily is a high elf. She asks Weiss what he plans to do, leaving Weiss deep in thought as he looks at the girl. Weiss acknowledges Esmeralda sensei's keen perception, while she proudly notes that she hasn't lost her sharpness despite retiring from teaching. Weiss reveals that Lily is an orphan whom he is raising as his daughter, wanting only to provide her with the means to live independently. Esmeralda is moved by his maturity and kindness, eventually suggesting that a girl like Lily deserves an exceptional robe to keep her safe. Weiss tells Esmeralda sensei that while he doesn't doubt her skills, he doesn't think a robe would make much of a difference. Esmeralda sensei smirks, agreeing that it wouldn't matter for ordinary commercial clothing. She then asks if he wants to dress Lily in the best possible robe, something worthy of a high elf determined. Weiss admits that he wants to give her the best robe in the world, or, at the very least, the best one in the imperial capital. Esmeralda sensei smiles, pleased by Weiss' resolve to provide the best for Lily. However, she sets a challenging condition. He must hunt a crystal dragon. Weiss is taken aback by the request, as the crystal dragon is a supreme beast known as the Mage Killer, due to its magic-absorbing crystals, making it the hardest target to hunt. Ziggline examines her reflection in the mirror, questioning if her naturally stern face is the reason Lily finds her intimidating. She recalls a conversation from the previous day, where Weiss pointed out that her tension is evident, and suggested she try relaxing to be more approachable. Despite her Emma describing her face as majestic and distinguished, Ziggline begins to wonder if that very intensity is what scares others. While walking, Weiss asks Ziggline if she can recommend a babysitter, since he will be busy the next day. Ziggline, eager to overcome Lily's fear of her, immediately volunteers to take the job. Even offering to take a day off, she confidently declares that by the end of the day, Lily will be calling her mom, leaving Weiss slightly bewildered by her sudden intensity. Weiss prepares to set off on a modified magic motorcycle borrowed from Esmeralda, a vehicle capable of shortening long journeys but notoriously dangerous to handle. As he bids farewell, Ziggline tells him to be careful. Lily, however, is devastated by the separation, and Ratimria begs to accompany him, promising to be a good girl. Seeing the girl's distress, Ziggline mischievously suggests that Weiss just take her along, leaving him feeling conflicted. Weiss is caught in a mental battle, with an imaginary angel and devil arguing over whether he should take Lily along. While he wants to be a cool dad and comfort the crying girl, he realizes that a dragon hunt is far too dangerous for a child. As he tries to steel his resolve and hold himself together, Ziggline looks on, questioning why he hasn't departed yet. Ziggline sits quietly as Lily plays with her blocks, but the silence is heavy. As Ziggline tries to maintain a smile, she feels her facial muscles tensing up, making her look terrifying. She reflects on her history of scaring first-year students and admits to herself that she isn't the type of person children like, leaving her feeling completely lost on how to handle the situation. Ziggline continues her efforts to bond with Lily, and the little girl decides to start drawing. As Ziggline looks on, she is struck by the sheer level of concentration and seriousness Lily displays while working on her art. Curious about Lily's intense focus, Ziggline asks what the little girl is drawing. Lily finishes her work and excitedly presents the paper, proudly declaring that the monstrous, wide-eyed sketch is actually a portrait of Ziggline. Ziggline stares in disbelief at the crude, monstrous portrait, questioning if Lily really drew her. However, seeing Lily's pride, Ziggline puts on a gentle smile and thanks her, claiming it makes her very happy. Lily beams with joy, thrilled that Ziggline likes her artwork. Ziggline continues to cherish the drawing Lily made for her. The scene then transitions to the quiet streets of the city, leading to a charming cafe where a mouth-watering stack of pancakes awaits. Lily is absolutely enchanted by the fluffy pancakes, her eyes sparkling with pure joy. Ziggline and Ari watch her with a mix of amusement and surprise, shocked that such a common treat is a experience for her. When asked about other places she has visited, Lily happily mentions Uncle Loret's shop and Holo Nichan, highlighting her limited but cherished experiences. Lily innocently mentions that Holo Nichan is really nice and is friends with her dad. This sends Ari into a state of total shock. Recalling Weiss' claim that he has no wife or girlfriend, Ari begins to panic, wondering what kind of relationship they actually have. In her distress, she jumps to the wild conclusion that Holo might be his ex-wife, even as it is clarified that Holo is simply the owner of a clothing store. Lily cheerfully explains that she got her clothes from Holo Nichan and that her dad is simply a customer at the store. Ari is momentarily stunned, realizing she may have doubted for no reason. But the peace is short-lived as she immediately begins to overthink again, questioning where the store is located and where Lily used to live. The mention of Zenith sends Ari into a state of shock. She recalls the city's reputation as the most brutal place in the world, her mind flashing to the perilous Gwena volcano and the fearsome crystal dragons that inhabit its peaks. The narrative delves into the perils of Zenith, explaining that the crystal dragons are feared as mage killers because the crystals on their bodies absorb and neutralize magical attacks. While the hunting difficulty is at a maximum level, Weiss reveals a plan. By utilizing heat-resistant magic tire coatings and injecting an overwhelming amount of magic beyond the dragon's capacity, he believes they can secure a victory. Weiss finally tracks down the crystal dragon. With a determined expression, he manifests a complex magic circle, ready to overload the mage killer with an immense surge of energy. With a determined shout, Weiss activates his spell, calling out Magic Lance. As a giant magic circle manifests, he thrusts his arm forward, yelling, "Here we go," and firing a devastating, piercing beam of magic across the landscape. The massive energy blast slams into the crystal dragon, causing a violent explosion. However, instead of celebrating, Weiss looks on in horror, realizing that if he shreds the creature completely, the materials will become useless. He frantically wonders if he went too far with his power. Weiss stares in disbelief, sweating as he processes the situation. He had unleashed enough magic to level an entire city, yet the crystal dragon remains standing. Terrified, he wonders if the creature can absorb magic infinitely, realizing that his attempt to overwhelm it has only made things much worse. Knowing that magic alone is ineffective, Weiss attempts to push his power to the limit, shouting for his magic to accelerate. As he observes the impact, he notices the crystals breaking, leading him to a crucial realization. While the dragon can neutralize magic, it is still vulnerable to physical attacks. Looking back at the creature, Weiss admits that he didn't even scratch the dragon's body. Having only managed to hit its tail, he notices a small, glowing crystal shard on the ground and picks it up, wondering if it came from the impact. As he examines the shard, he is left in awe of the creature's amazing absorption ability. A sudden idea strikes Weiss. Realizing the potential of the crystal shard, he decides to maximize its power by pouring all of his magic into it, intending to trigger a devastating explosion against the crystal dragon. Weiss observes the crystal dragon's open maw, noting the absence of crystals. With a determined smirk, he tells Lily to wait a moment, promising her a shiny tunic as he launches himself forward with a devastating, magic-enhanced strike. The attack hits its mark with devastating force, resulting in a colossal explosion that engulfs the crystal dragon. Weiss watches the scene, a look of confusion crossing his face as he utters a soft "huh?" A plume of black smoke marks the aftermath of the battle as the scene shifts back to the city. Looking worn out, Weiss greets Esmeralda sensei. He shows her a magic target item that increases storage capacity based on magic, which now holds about 50 crystals from the crystal dragon he hunted. Recognizing the crystals as a luxury material, Esmeralda sensei asks to buy them, though Weiss dismisses the need for that much money. Esmeralda sensei dismisses the idea that she has enough money to buy the crystals herself. Instead, she recommends a place called Financier, explaining that they pay handsomely for materials used in crystal dragon dresses to promote their brand. Confused, Weiss questions the purpose and magic behind such dresses, only to be told it's simply for fashion. As he contemplates this, he imagines a delighted Era wearing a fancy dress, leaving him completely baffled. Weiss returns home to a joyful reunion as Era leaps into his arms, shouting "Dad" with pure excitement. Ziggline greets him, mentioning she was worried about his delay. Weiss apologizes for the setbacks and expresses his gratitude to Ziggline for taking care of little Lily in his absence. Weiss presents Era with a gift, asking if she got along well with Ziggline. Era beams with joy, excitedly telling him that she and Lily adore Ziggline and love the pancakes she let them try. Upon opening the box of delicious treats, Era is thrilled. Weiss and Ziggline share a smile, agreeing that the time spent together was well worth the cost. Weiss recalls the day Lily first called him Dad, an emotional moment that left him in tears. Meanwhile, Ziggline quietly notes that Lily still doesn't call her mom, to which Weiss reassures her that such things take time. The scene then transitions to the elegant storefront of the Francois store. Inside the Francois store, Era is completely mesmerized by a magnificent, sparkling dress displayed on a mannequin. Weiss examines the luxurious garment, wondering if it is actually a magic dress or simply a piece of high fashion meant for nobility. Noticing Era's excitement, he gently asks her if she likes it. Weiss introduces himself to Aurelia, the head designer at Francois, while privately noting her impressive age as an elf. After admiring her work, Weiss offers to provide her with rare materials. When he reveals that the materials come from a crystal dragon, Aurelia and her assistant are left in complete shock. While Era and Lily go to look at dresses, Aurelia leads Weiss to a living room to discuss the details of the materials. She is deeply impressed, noting that crystal dragon horns are incredibly rare materials she has never handled before. Weiss presents a bag, and as Aurelia opens it, she is left completely speechless by the sight of the contents. Aurelia is completely shocked, confirming that the materials are authentic and wondering how Weiss managed to obtain them. Eager to have the rare horns, she asks about the cost, but proposes a deal he will give them for free if she accepts his conditions. He requests that the Frost store's next annual magic dress be crafted using the crystal dragon horns. Aurelia agrees with enthusiasm, only for Weiss to mention that there is yet another condition. Lily has a wonderful time trying on various cute dresses at the Francois store. Aurelia and her assistants are completely charmed by her, exclaiming that Lily looks good in absolutely anything. Lily excitedly shows off her new outfit, leaving Aurelia enchanted by her angelic appearance. However, Weiss quickly steers the conversation back to business, reminding Aurelia that there is a more important condition. He requests that once the annual magic dress is completed, Aurelia must create an identical one specifically for Lily. Aurelia is taken aback, questioning if that is truly all Weiss wants. He simply replies that he wants to see Lily wearing the dress, dismissing any financial concerns by stating they don't need much money to live. Lily's eyes light up with excitement as she asks if she will become a princess. Weiss warmly hugs her, promising that Aurelia will make her the most beautiful princess in the world, leaving a bewildered Aurelia wondering if he is all right. The next day, Weiss and Lily arrive at the ruined outskirts of the capital. As Lily curiously asks where they are, Weiss admits that he didn't know such a place existed within the city. He has come here for a specific reason, to find a staff maker. Weiss asks Esmeralda sensei if she can craft a staff for Lily. However, she quickly corrects him, reminding him that they run a clothing store and lack the expertise to handle crystal dragon horns. She suggests he visit a friend of hers who is a specialist. As they talk, Esmeralda sensei reflects on Weiss' unorthodox method of defeating the crystal dragon, wondering where he learned such dangerous techniques since they are certainly not taught in school. Arriving at the destination, Weiss and Lily find nothing but a dilapidated shack. Surprised by the state of the place, Weiss cautiously enters and calls out, explaining that he was sent by Esmeralda sensei. Inside the dim room, a stout figure stirs from their sleep, wondering who has arrived. Weiss asks the man if he is Ramiro. The man, waking up while holding a bottle, finds the mention of Esmeralda nostalgic. After confirming his identity, Ramiro asks what they want, and Weiss explains that he wants a staff made, having heard from his teacher that Ramiro is an exceptional staff maker. Weiss shows Ramiro the crystal dragon horn, admitting that he couldn't find any other artisan who could handle such a material. Ramiro immediately refuses, stating that he has already retired from his craft. However, upon seeing the horn, Ramiro's attitude shifts as he acknowledges that a common artisan indeed couldn't handle it, finally understanding why he was recommended for the task. Weiss continues to press Ramiro, explaining that the staff is for his daughter. While Ramiro initially tells them to leave him alone, Lily's heartfelt plea softens him. Eventually, Ramiro agrees to take the job, but only if Weiss can provide him with some exquisite liquor. Weiss searches for a high-quality bottle, noting that a common supermarket liquor wouldn't be enough to satisfy Ramiro. As they look through the selection, a curious Lily asks her father if alcohol tastes good. Weiss firmly tells her that it does not and warns her never to try it. When Lily asks why adults drink it if the taste is bad, Weiss simply answers that it is out of obligation, leaving Lily completely puzzled. Weiss contemplates finding a legendary liquor to satisfy Ramiro's request. To his surprise, Ari reveals that she knows of on a note exactly legendary, but a rare variety that doesn't circulate in the general market. Ari explains that her father is a connoisseur of sake and has access to a secret high-quality brew. She suggests that Weiss might be able to obtain some if he provides a worthy gift. In response, Weiss tells Ziggline to give the salt. Ari is skeptical at first, questioning if salt is enough, but then realizes its value to a sake lover and urges him to deliver it. The salt proves to be an unexpected hit. Weiss is overjoyed to receive 2 bottles of the rare sake, while Ari looks on in disbelief, unable to believe her father would trade his prized liquor for something as simple as salt. Ari is completely baffled, questioning Weiss about the nature of the salt. She describes a strange scene where her father, upon tasting it, began drinking as if possessed, until he collapsed in a drunken stupor. While Ari admits she was both scared and intrigued, Weiss simply brushes it off, explaining that it is just incredibly delicious salt. With a confident smile, he suggests that they drink together next time, so she can see how fantastic it truly is. Ari eventually gives in, deciding that drinking once in a while wouldn't be so bad. After promising to return tomorrow, she bids them farewell to get back to her work. As Weiss and Lily walk away, Weiss thinks about Ziggline, noting that she visits often despite her busy schedule, which he attributes to her typical obsession with the high elf. A serene image of Ziggline appears, but a soft thought lingers, recalling that Ari looks truly beautiful when she takes off her glasses. Weiss takes Ari's glasses, bluntly telling her that they don't suit her and that she should change them. As Ziggline rushes in to take the glasses back, Weiss turns his teasing attention toward her, suggesting that there are hairstyles that would look much better on her. Although he insists he isn't making fun of her and calls her cute, a flustered Ziggline shouts back that her appearance is her own decision. Weiss hands the glasses back to Ari, who remains visibly flustered. He playfully critiques her lifestyle, suggesting that spending all her time in the library has left her without energy for exercise. When a defensive Ari demands to know who he thinks he is, he confidently introduces himself as Weiss Frenberg, admitting that he already knows her as the famous student with the best grades. Weiss apologizes for his confusion with her name and teases Ari, mentioning that everyone calls her a bookworm, a label she readily accepts. Ari, feeling mocked, asks what he actually wants, but Weiss simply claims he wanted to get to know her. As he walks away, Ari shouts for him to never come back, though Weiss cheerfully promises he'll be seeing her again soon. The scene shifts to a memory of their time as students. In the quiet of the library, a young Weiss frequently approached Ari, trying to capture her attention with books and animated conversations. Though Ari initially appeared indifferent to his antics, she eventually found herself amused by his persistence, sharing a rare, light-hearted moment with him. Weiss lets out a long sigh as he leans against the railing of a bridge, his mind drifting back from the memories of his school days. He wonders how many years have passed since then, admitting to himself that the intensity of those feelings was perhaps a bit too much for a first love. Returning to the present, Weiss reflects on a successful mission, noting that the illusion liquor he obtained from Ziggline worked impressively. The next day, Weiss is seen with a cheerful Lily. He stops by to visit Esmeralda-sensei, greeting her, and picking up a tunic that she has just finished preparing. Esmeralda-sensei excitedly shows off the finished tunic, but she has another surprise, presents a sparkling staff, leaving Lily in complete awe. Cease is stunned, questioning how the staff could possibly be finished so quickly after being ordered only yesterday. Esmeralda-sensei explains that the staff is crafted from crystal dragon. While most mages rely on staffs to stabilize their spells, Weiss typically does not. He is stunned by the craftsmanship, and Esmeralda notes that Romero's skills remain as sharp as ever. Lily, curious and excited, asks if she can use it, to which Esmeralda readily agrees. Weiss thinks to himself, surprised by the high quality of the work, recalling that the process seemed difficult, and that Romero had even requested more liquor. Lily beams with joy as she strikes a pose, proudly presenting her new crystal dragon tunic and the staff. "Tada!" she exclaims, radiating happiness in her new outfit. Weiss is completely blown away by how Lily looks in her new outfit. When Lily shyly asks if it looks good on her, Weiss enthusiastically tells her she looks incredible and adorable. Esmeralda Sensei points out the sparkling details, explaining that the fabric itself is woven with crystals, making it one of the most famous and effective pieces of armor in the Empire. Overjoyed, Lily thanks her sensei for the amazing gift. Lily looks up at Weiss and asks if she looks like a mage. Weiss beams with pride, hugging her close and telling her she's the cutest mage in the world. Overwhelmed by her adorableness, he thinks about how much he wants to run out and show her off to everyone in the capital. His mood suddenly shifts from pride to worry. Noticing his expression, Esmeralda Sensei asks if something is bothering him, but Weiss is already spiraling into overprotective thoughts. He begins to fret over Lily's upcoming school enrollment, imagining the commotion her cuteness might cause, and fearing the worst, that she could be kidnapped if he loses sight of her for even a second. The architecture of the Nastarsha School of Magic stands as a symbol of prestige, offering the finest magical education in the Empire. It is a place where anyone with a desire to learn can enroll, regardless of their family background. As the classroom scenes unfold, Weiss reflects on his own journey at the academy, remembering how he began as a complete novice before rising to the top of his class. Weiss reflects on Lily's nature as a high elf, worrying that a school designed primarily for humans might leave her feeling out of place or struggling to keep up in class. Despite these concerns, he envisions her smiling and making many friends, wanting her to enjoy her school life to the fullest. With a determined expression, Weiss decides that he needs to get ready to ensure everything goes well for her. Weiss tells Lily to close her eyes as he prepares to teach her the basics of magic. He explains that while most people are born with magical power, they must learn to sense it to use it. By holding her hand, he allows Lily to perceive his magic as a foreign body to help her understand the sensation. Despite her anxiety, Weiss warmly encourages her, promising that she will surely become a great mage. Weiss explains that by transmitting his own magical power to Lily, she will be able to sense her own. He asks her to focus as he prepares to release the energy from his palm. Lily reacts with hesitation and nervousness, but as their hands meet, a burst of magical power is transmitted. Lily struggles to feel the magic, eventually admitting with a sad expression that it isn't coming out and apologizing to Weiss. Seeing her distress, Weiss pulls her into a warm hug, gently telling her not to worry, and that it's perfectly normal to take time to learn. Lily concentrates with all her might, letting out a determined cry as she tries once more to feel the magic. Weiss watches her closely, cheering her on, but as the seconds pass without success, he begins to worry. He recalls that at the magic school, even those with very little talent can usually sense magic after a few tries, making Lily's struggle unusually difficult. Determined to succeed, Lily asks Weiss to let her try sensing the magic once more. However, Weiss gently stops her, telling her not to overstrain herself and that it's time to eat. As he looks at her, a flicker of doubt crosses his mind, wondering if Lily might actually be unable to become a mage. Weiss quickly cuts Lily off, firmly telling her not to say such things. He gives her his absolute guarantee that she will definitely become a great mage, bringing tears of hope to her eyes. But as he holds her close, Weiss remains troubled, believing there must be a specific reason why Lily is struggling due to her high elf heritage. Since he doesn't know the answer, he begins to wonder if he should ask someone for help. Seeking professional guidance, Weiss brings Lily to see Esmeralda Sensei. Lily greets the Esmeralda Sensei with great enthusiasm, and Esmeralda Sensei finds the girl's honest nature charming, jokingly comparing her to Weiss. While reassuring Lily not to be nervous, Weiss asks Esmeralda Sensei if she has discovered why Lily is having such a hard time sensing magic. Esmeralda Sensei analyzes the situation and asks Weiss how he instructed Lily to release her magic. Upon hearing his method, she explains that Lily's magical flow is much faster than average, meaning a slow approach only confuses her because it doesn't match her frequency. Realizing the truth, Weiss is left feeling discouraged, wondering if he was the one at fault. Noticing his distress, Lily worriedly asks Weiss if something is wrong or if he is in pain. Weiss is overwhelmed by guilt, feeling that he has not only failed to teach her but has also made Lily feel insecure. He internally laments being a bad father, but he quickly puts on a brave face and hugs Lily, reassuring her that everything is fine. Determined to help his daughter, Weiss asks Esmeralda Sensei for the solution. She explains that Lily simply needs to adjust the speed of her magical power, a task that is difficult for most, but should be easy for someone of Weiss's skill. With renewed confidence, Weiss tells Lily to get ready to try again, and Lily eagerly agrees. Lily closes her eyes, concentrating deeply on the sensation of her magic, noting that it feels better than usual. C silently guides her hand, instructing her to control the amount of power, though he observes that the flow remains fast. Lily continues to focus intently, trying to master the adjustment. With deep concentration, Lily manages to stabilize her energy, causing a burst of magical light to envelop her. Weiss observes her closely, witnessing the result of her hard work and his guidance. With a joyful shout, Lily releases all her concentrated power at once, creating a massive explosion of magic. Startled by the sudden intensity, Weiss quickly reacts, shouting magic barrier, to shield himself and Esmeralda-sensei from the overwhelming force. The dust and debris slowly settle after the massive burst of energy. Lily looks up at Weiss with wide, wondering eyes, softly asking if she finally did it. Seeing her hopeful expression, Weiss beams with a warm, proud smile and gives her a definitive yes. Lily bursts into tears, wondering if she will finally be able to become a mage. Weiss, his own eyes welling up, gently pats her head and reassures her that she can, reminding her that he has told her many times. He softly apologizes for the times he made her feel insecure, reaffirming his belief in her. Weiss pulls Lily into a heartfelt embrace, his voice filled with pride as he tells her, "Lily, congratulations! You're truly a mage." Nearby, Esmeralda-sensei and the shop assistant watch the touching moment with warm, happy expressions. A butterfly gently lands on Lily's head, and she calls out to Weiss with a bright, happy smile. Weiss looks at her warmly, thinking about how Esmeralda-sensei's help allowed Lily to sense the butterfly's magic. As he watches her, he is overcome with emotion, realizing that raising a child has brought him more joy than he ever imagined. Weiss contemplates how having a child has given him a true understanding of a father's feelings, which is why he continues to distance himself from a place from his past. Looking at Lily's joyful face, he smiles and declares that it's settled they are going out. Lily responds with an excited cheer. Weiss arrives at his childhood home with Lily. When Lily asks where they are, Weiss explains that it is his father's house. He reflects on his past, recalling how he lived independently after fleeing the capital without contacting his family. He worries that his parents will be overwhelmed with emotion or anger upon seeing him again, especially now that he has brought a daughter along. Despite the dread of being scolded, Weiss prepares himself to take the hit, while Lily remains cheerfully excited. The door opens to reveal Weiss' mother, who looks on in complete surprise. With a nervous smile, Weiss greets her, admitting that it has been a long time since they last met. He brings Lily along with him, introducing her to his mother. The scene then shifts to the interior, where they enjoy a spread of tea and elegant sweets together. Weiss' mother observes that Lily doesn't look like the rest of the family, concluding that she must be an orphan. She warmly introduces herself to the little girl as her grandmother, mentioning that the grandfather is away at work. Lily, confused, asks if she is indeed her grandmother, to which Weiss responds with a smile, clarifying the relationship. Weiss' mother tells him she is proud of him for being a good father, which catches him completely off guard. Confused, Weiss asks why she isn't angry that he left home without a word, admitting he had prepared himself for a harsh reaction. His mother calmly explains that she always believed in him and mentions that Zigline's frequent visits kept her from feeling lonely, leaving Weiss stunned by the revelation. Tia explains that immediately after Weiss left home, Ziggline had vowed to find him and had been reporting her progress to Tia every single week. Overwhelmed by this revelation, Weiss realizes that while he feared his parents' reaction, Ziggline had been the one truly searching for him. As he reflects on the fact that he had been worrying about the wrong people, Tia asks him if he has ever truly thought about his feelings for the girl. He points out that Ziggline is the only one who cares for Weiss so deeply, despite his own selfishness, quietly admits that she may be right. As he walks away from his childhood home holding Lily's hand, he reflects on Zigline's desire to be a mother to Lily, noting that the decision ultimately depends on Lily's own feelings. He leaves with a lingering question in his mind. What could Zigline's true wish be? Weiss meets Ziggline, who asks if Lily has already fallen asleep. When Weiss responds with an apology, Ziggline is taken aback, wondering why he is apologizing. Weiss looks at her with a serious expression and softly calls her name. Weiss takes a bold step and asks Ziggline if she truly wants to be Lily's mother, promising to help her achieve the wish. Overwhelmed by the sudden confession, Ziggline becomes a blushing mess, frantically trying to regain her composure while clutching a textbook she had brought from home for Lily. Zigline's mind wanders to a romantic fantasy of a perfect proposal, believing such a moment requires the right atmosphere. However, Weiss snaps her back to reality with his directness, asking if she actually cares about Lily, or if she's having second thoughts, completely overwhelmed and blushing. Ziggline frantically denies having any doubts. Ziggline finally relaxes, a soft and happy smile appearing on her face. Weiss notices the change, pointing out that she rarely shows such a smile. Looking at her, Weiss is momentarily stunned, thinking to himself that her smile is incredibly cute. Ari reaches out to Weiss, asking if he has time tomorrow and insisting that he come alone, promising to handle all the preparations. As Weiss walks through the door and is greeted by Emma, he realizes that the mission he has been anticipating is finally happening. Weiss meets up with Ari, noticing that she is dressed in unusually casual clothes. Ari excitedly leads him to her favorite spot, a place famous for its pancakes. However, Weiss is stunned to find that the pancakes cost 2,000 Zenis, complaining about the expense. Ari encourages him to order whatever he likes, prompting Weiss to order a coffee and ask if he can bring some pancakes back for Lily. Ari orders 2 coffees and 2 pancakes, making sure one is packed to go for Lily. When the food arrives, Weiss is impressed by the appearance of the pancakes, thinking the high price was actually worth it. However, Ari suddenly confesses that she isn't actually a fan of sweets and only ordered the signature dish out of curiosity. Flustered, she shyly suggests that they share the meal together. Weiss asks if he can eat the pancakes, and Ari warmly tells him not to be shy. Upon tasting them, Weiss is immediately impressed by the flavor. Ari mentions that the dish isn't overly sweet, prompting her to try a small piece as well. After tasting it, she happily agrees that they are indeed delicious. Ari happily admits that the pancakes are indeed delicious. As they talk, she recalls how she used to visit the cafe often during her student years, marveling at the fact that she and Weiss are together 10 years later. Weiss listens, and a sense of warmth fills the air between them. As they finish their time together, Ari shyly asks if she can invite Weiss again in the future. Weiss warmly agrees, reminding her that they are friends. After thanking her for the day and mentioning that Lily will love the pancakes, Weiss waves goodbye. But just as he is about to leave, Ari asks about work, leaving Weiss momentarily confused. Upon returning home, Weiss is greeted enthusiastically by Lily. He presents her with the pancakes, explaining that they are a special gift from Ziggline. Lily is overjoyed by the treat, leading Weiss to secretly rejoice that his attempt to build a positive image of Ziggline is succeeding. Ari informs Weiss that she has a mission for him. Confused, Weiss asks for more information, and Ari explains that the task involves finding something fluffy. As they talk over coffee, Ari points out a detail he forgot to mention the day before, and Weiss listens intently to the requirements. Ari explains the situation. The daughter of a wealthy donor is entering magic school but is throwing a tantrum because she wants a one-of-a-kind fluffy robe. Ari finds it absurd that the Ministry of Magic is acting like a grocery store, but she cannot refuse the request. Since the girl will be treated specially and won't face danger, the robe only needs to be fluffy, not defensive. Hearing this, Weiss smirks and suggests they head out to hunt for the material right away. Weiss apologizes to Ziggline, but she kindly reassures him that she is happy to help. He explains that he has business to attend to outside the capital and won't be visiting the restaurant today. Hearing this, Lily enthusiastically demands to join him. Weiss hesitates for a moment, but then decides to bring her along, thinking that the cute angel bears they might encounter would be a treat for her. The objective is to find the angel bear, an adorable and gentle creature known for its heart-shaped pattern, though its kindness often makes it prey for others. Upon arriving, Lily is absolutely thrilled, exclaiming in amazement as she discovers a whole field of the fluffy little bears. Lily excitedly introduces herself to the little bears, assuring them that she isn't scary. With sparkling eyes, she asks if they can play together, and one of the fluffy creatures responds by affectionately nuzzling her cheek. Lily bursts into laughter, her eyes sparkling with pure happiness as she is cuddled and nuzzled by a group of adorable angel bears. Lily is in pure bliss, laughing as she tells the fluffy bears that they are ticklish. Watching from the sidelines, Weiss develops a mischievous plan. He decides that while Lily is distracted by her play, he will defeat an angel bear to leave her completely shocked and impressed. Weiss sets his sights on one of the angel bears. With a determined look, he asks himself if he should go for it before unleashing a complex magic spell to strike the creature. Just as Weiss is about to execute his plan to look cool, Lily suddenly rushes over and clings to his leg, calling out to him. Panicked and caught off guard, Weiss freezes as Lily innocently asks if he wants to join in and play with the angel bears. Giving in to Lily's excitement, Weiss shifts from panic to full determination. With Lily clinging to his back and shouting for him to catch the bears, Weiss charges forward with intense energy, declaring that hell handle everything for her. Lily laughs with pure joy as Weiss continues to charge forward. However, Weiss is quickly becoming worn out, realizing that the fluffy creatures are much faster than he expected. Despite his exhaustion, he is glad to see Lily so happy, though he can't help but wonder if catching an angel bear is actually harder than defeating a crystal dragon. Lily continues to cheer Weiss on, urging him to keep going as they almost reach the angel bears. However, completely spent, Weiss finally gives in to his exhaustion and collapses, apologetically telling Lily that he simply can't keep up anymore. Weiss lies flat on his back, completely spent, when Lee's urgent voice snaps him back to attention. Startled and confused, he asks what is wrong, only for Lily to point toward the angel bears, who are now huddled together in a strange way. Caught completely off guard, Weiss barely has time to wonder what is happening before an angel bear charges at him like a projectile. The creature slams into him with immense power, sending Weiss flying backward through the air. Lily rushes forward in a panic, worried about the teddy bear that just attacked Wes. As Weiss tries to stop her, they discover the creature is actually a crying cub. Weiss solemnly explains that its mother is gone, leaving Lily heartbroken as she pulls the small, lonely bear into a tight embrace. As the situation settles, Weiss turns his attention to a shop assistant they have stopped. Rubbing her head in pain, she asks who they are. Weiss sternly informs her that they intervened because she was trying to hurt the angel bears, leaving the woman completely bewildered by the accusation. Kaya clarifies that she was patrolling the area to protect the angel teddy bears, which are local tourist attractions, from those who wish them harm. After a brief and slightly confusing exchange about her motives, she and Weiss exchange introductions. Upon seeing Lily, Kaya is immediately struck by how lovely the little girl is. Lily tearfully hugs the baby bear, worrying that the little creature will be left all alone. She turns to Kaya, asking if the baby bear will be safe in the village. Kaya explains that while it is sad, the situation is complicated because the village is poor and many people hunt the angel bears. They cannot take in every orphan. Instead, they focus their efforts on patrolling the area to prevent harm before it happens. Lily looks up at Weiss with pleading eyes, asking if they can take the baby bear home with them. Weiss smiles softly, realizing how much the little bear means to her, and agrees to take the orphan creature under his care. Weiss asks Kaya if it's possible to keep an angel bear as a pet. Upon learning that Weiss lives in the capital and has a garden, Kaya confirms that it should be fine. Turning to his daughter, Weiss warns Lily that caring for a living being is a complicated responsibility, and asks if she is truly committed. With sparkling eyes and a determined expression, Lily enthusiastically promises to do her best. Lily jumps for joy, hugging the baby angel bear tightly as Weiss gives his final approval. With sparkling eyes, Lily happily declares that the little creature is now part of their family. But as they prepare to leave, Kaya stops them, telling Weiss that she needs to personally verify if his home in the capital is suitable for the bear, requesting that he take her along. Weiss agrees to Kaya's request to come along, though she warns him that the capital has strict regulations, and mentions she will take the mother bear's body with her. As Weiss puts the baby bear into a magic bag, Kaya becomes incredibly excited and asks where the vehicle is. However, Weiss quickly shuts her down, explaining that they use a magic motorcycle that only seats two, leaving no room for her. Kaya is horrified to learn that Weiss traveled by motorcycle and has no room for her, questioning how she is supposed to reach the capital. When Weiss jokingly suggests dragging her along with a rope, she finds the idea completely extreme. Suddenly, Kaya remembers the magic storage Weiss used earlier and suggests that he simply put her inside. Although Weiss is initially hesitant because he has never stored a living being, he realizes it might actually be a viable solution. Having reached the capital, Weiss pops Kaya out of his magic storage bag, asking if she is okay after the trip. Lily, oblivious to the logistics, is simply thrilled to be there and immediately starts playing with the baby angel bear, whom she calls Kumatan. Kaya wakes up feeling dizzy and completely disoriented, wondering where she is. Weiss explains that they have arrived near the capital since she wanted to see his home. While Lily happily plays with the baby angel bear, Kaya lashes out at Weiss, claiming she almost died and demanding he take responsibility. Weiss bluntly reminds her that she was the one who suggested fitting into the backpack, noting that it isn't meant for carrying people. He then offers to take her back on his magic bike, leaving Kaya bewildered. Kaya firmly refuses to go back, declaring that she cannot trust an amateur like Weiss with the angel bear. As Weiss tries to leave with Lily, Kaya reveals she has no money and expects him to cover her food and lodging. Can only sigh in exasperation, noting that she likely won't even be able to pass the entrance check to get into the capital. As they reach the entrance check, the guard enthusiastically welcomes them to enter. Kaya is baffled by the lack of scrutiny and yells at him to do his job properly, arguing that a group consisting of a monster, an elf, and strangers should look suspicious at first glance. However, the guard is simply following the orders of Ziggline, who has granted Weiss' companions unconditional permission to pass, leaving the guard deeply impressed by her. Kaya is completely amazed as she takes in the sight of the capital for the first time. Meanwhile, Weiss checks on Lily, who is far from tired and instead very hungry. As Kumatan drifts off to sleep, Lily's excitement peaks when Weiss suggests getting some pancakes, leaving Kaya slightly bewildered by the child's sudden focus on food. At the pancake shop, Lily is in heaven, describing the fluffy pancakes as a paradise. Seeing Lily's excitement, Kaya desperately pleads with Weiss to let her have some too. After finally getting a taste, Kaya is left blushing and blissful, admitting that the pancakes were delicious. Kaya becomes emotional, realizing that the simple luxuries of the capital are far beyond her means. She explains to Weiss that a single cup of coffee costs 300 Zenis, the same amount she earned in an entire week back in her village. While Weiss is surprised by how little she earned, Kaya emphasizes that the cost of living is simply too different. Feeling deeply appreciative, she tells Weiss how grateful she is that he is supporting her, leaving him speechless. Determined to enjoy the luxuries of the city, Kaya declares her intention to make a name for herself in the capital, with the primary goal of eating pancakes every day. Weiss gives her his lukewarm support. When he asks if she is worried about her family back home, Kaya nonchalantly suggests they will just assume she was eaten by the bear and Zelda despite the creature being a herbivore. Completely unbothered, she cheerfully calls the waiter for another round of pancakes. Lily happily gives Kumatan a plate just like her own, promising that he will eat from it starting tomorrow. She then shows him a sofa, explaining what it is, and encouraging him to sit and lie down as they cuddle together. Ari stares down Weiss and Kaya with a cold, piercing gaze, feeling the overwhelming pressure. Weiss and Kaya kneel before her in fear. Ari demands that Weiss refresh her memory on what she had asked of him, leaving a terrified Weiss to question if he has even completed the mission. Ari loudly reminds Weiss that her request was only to gather materials, questioning why he brought an extra person. Kaya tries to introduce herself, but Ari coldly shuts her down, leaving Kaya terrified. As Kaya begs Weiss for help and asks who this demon is, Weiss nervously warns her that Ari is one of the most important people in the capital and must not be challenged. Weiss tries to smooth things over by explaining that Kaya is an expert on bear angels and can help process materials. Kaya eagerly confirms this, claiming she has been around bear angels since birth. Weiss then asks if she can be taken care of at the Ministry of Magic, to which Ari reluctantly agrees, much to Kaya's absolute delight. Kaya is seen in high spirits, hugging Ziggline and a small bear angel. Meanwhile, Ari skeptically asks Weiss if Kaya truly knows about the creatures. Weiss nervously reveals that Kaya believes they are carnivores, which Ari finds unsurprising. As the scene shifts to a view of the building under the moonlight, Ari sternly tells Weiss not to bring her any more problems, to which he apologetically agrees. Weiss wakes up feeling completely drained from the chaos of the previous day. He recalls Zigline's firm warning to Kaya not to get too comfortable at his house, as a proper place for her had already been prepared. Shaking off his fatigue, Weiss calls out to Lily, wondering if she is already awake. Lily bursts with overwhelming enthusiasm, shouting her name and declaring that she will do her best. The sheer intensity of her energy leaves Wes lying flat on his back, completely drained. Lily panics, calling out to Weiss and asking if he is okay. Weiss, though dazed, reassures her that he is fine and asks what she was doing this morning. With a determined look, Lily confesses her dream of becoming a magician and explains that she was practicing her magic. Weiss smiles, noting that while Lily cannot cast spells yet, she has begun to sense magic power with the help of Esmeralda sensei. Weiss explains to Lily that magic power is merely the raw material, and that true magic is a science requiring skill and knowledge, which is why magic schools exist. He tells her that by studying different elements like water and fire, she will eventually discover her own nature. Curious about her dreams, he asks Lily what kind of magician she wants to become, leaving her deep in thought. Lily softly admits that she wants to become a magician so she can help her daddy. Touched by her words, Weiss pulls her into a warm hug and thanks her. While he is happy that she looks up to him, he expresses a slight worry, hoping that Lily will pursue her own dreams and find her own path without feeling tied down by a sense of obligation. Excited for the day, Lily asks if they are going on an adventure. Weiss tells her that they will be practicing magic outside the Imperial City, which makes Lily's eyes sparkle with joy. Overjoyed, she enthusiastically agrees, and the two set off on their journey. Weiss and Lily enjoy their adventure outside the Imperial City, filled with laughter and play. As they take a break, Lily happily munches on a sandwich, telling Weiss how delicious it is, while he beams with pride at having worked hard to prepare the meal for her. While exploring the forest, Lily is suddenly captivated by a small bunny, her eyes sparkling with excitement. Weiss tries to get her attention, reminding her that they should start practicing magic soon, so they aren't stuck in the woods after dark. However, Lily looks back at him with a blank expression, having completely forgotten why they came there in the first place. Weiss begins a quick review, questioning Lily about the purpose of the magic circle drawn on the ground. After explaining the importance of converting magic power, Lily excitedly identifies it as basic fire magic. Impressed by her sudden focus and quick understanding, Weiss praises her, remarking that she seems like a completely different person compared to when she was distracted by the bunny. Weiss reminds Lily that while she understands the concepts, drawing a magic circle perfectly on the first try requires talent and practice. Deciding it's time to put her knowledge to the test, he looks for a suitable target. He soon spots a group of slimes nearby, and an excited Lily eagerly points them out. Weiss enthusiastically tells Lily that it's time to practice and suggests she use fire magic on a nearby slime. However, Lily looks at the small creature with pity, unable to bring herself to hurt it. Realizing Lily's kindness, Weiss sighs and decides that they should probably just skip the practice for now. Watching Lily's hesitation, Weiss muses that he has never felt sorry for monsters, recalling how he once took down 2 dragons known as messengers of the gods. Realizing Lily's gentle nature, he points toward a massive tree and suggests it as a target, encouraging her to unleash her fire magic on it, since it isn't a living creature she needs to pity. Determined to practice, Lily agrees to target the tree. She grips her staff tightly, focusing all her concentration as magic begins to gather at the tip of her wand. Weiss watches with a smile as Lily successfully draws the magic circle. He praises her progress and instructs her to channel her magic into the circle to complete the spell. With a loud shout, Lily puts all her effort into the attack. A colossal blast of fire erupts, completely engulfing the massive tree in a blinding explosion of energy. Weiss and Lily stare in absolute disbelief at the towering inferno. The sheer scale of the explosion leaves them both speechless, shocked by the unexpected intensity of Lily's magic. Weiss can only stammer in disbelief as he realizes the sheer scale of Lily's power, which has completely engulfed both the target tree and the poor slime. As the flames finally extinguish, Weiss breathes a sigh of relief, but his attention quickly shifts to Lily, who is dazed and swaying. Before she can collapse, Weiss rushes forward to catch her in his arms. Looking at the exhausted little elf, he realizes that she simply overdid it, as her physical stamina was unable to keep up with the sheer volume of magic she had unleashed. Weiss gazes at the burnt tree in silence, still stunned by the destructive force Lily unleashed. Holding the sleeping girl in his arms, he realizes that while her power as a high elf is immense, she lacks control. He determines that he must teach her how to manage her magic before she starts school, specifically noting the importance of her hat, which is a tool typically used by upperclassmen at magic school to aid in magic control. Ari reflects on the impressive difference in racial magic, noting that Lily's power is extraordinary and that she might need the magic-controlling hat sooner than expected. She admits that by the time Lily reaches the intermediate level, she might even surpass her. Weiss reacts with a slight blush, disagreeing with the extent of the praise, but firmly declares that he won't lose to Lily in practical combat. Ari teases Weiss, reminding him that he was the one who beat her, though Weiss quickly counters that she would easily outperform him in knowledge and strategy. Shifting the conversation back to the matter at hand, Ari mentions the upcoming entrance ceremony and asks if Weiss knows where to acquire the specific type of hat Lily needs, suspecting that a common store-bought one wouldn't be enough. Weiss agrees and asks if she knows of any reputable shop. Ari brings up rumors of a legendary hat maker, prompting an excited Weiss to ask where they are located. When she reveals the name Anaheim, Weiss is visibly stunned. Ari explains that Anaheim is a closed-off autonomous state inhabited only by fairies and elves. Though technically part of the Empire, it remains a place of mystery to most. Weiss expresses doubt about visiting Anaheim, pointing out that the autonomous state typically restricts entry to only fairies and elves. However, Ari explains a crucial exception to the rules. She reveals that the entry requirements also include any other race that has a fairy or elf as family. Upon hearing this, Weiss is struck by a sudden realization. Weiss contemplates the trip to Anaheim, noting that the travel time by magical motorcycle is too long given the upcoming entrance ceremony. He considers simply getting a tailored hat in the capital instead. When he arrives home, Lily excitedly welcomes him back, jumping into his arms with a joyful hug. Lily happily shares that she's been playing hide-and-seek with Kumatan. Weiss smiles and encourages her, but in his heart he is determined to find the absolute best hat for her to help her control her magic. Weiss calls out to Lily, surprising her with a proposal for a week-long trip together. Overjoyed, Lily hugs her teddy bear in excitement. Their destination is the mysterious and unknown land of Anaheim. Ziggline is awakened from her sleep by a persistent call. Still groggy, she asks what is happening, only for Emma to apologize for the early disturbance and inform her that a visitor has arrived. Ziggline wonders who would visit her so early on a holiday, recalling that even Weiss never visited her during their school days. However, when Emma reveals that the visitors are indeed Lord Weiss, Lily, and their pet monster, Ziggline completely panics. She frantically orders Emma to keep him out of her room and lock him in the reception hall immediately. Meanwhile, Emma observes the reaction with a knowing smile, concluding that Weiss must be the man her young lady pines for. Lily is completely mesmerized by the grandeur of the hall, exclaiming that it feels like a princess's castle, while equally impressed by the architecture, observes the sheer luxury Ziggline lives in, noting that even her casual loungewear is a dress. As they wait in the lavish room, Emma stands nearby, watching them. Ziggline apologizes for the wait. Appearing still dressed in her uniform, Weiss notes her attire but quickly apologizes for the early hour of his visit. Ziggline expresses surprise at his first-ever visit and asks for the reason behind it. Weiss gets straight to the point, urgently asking where Kaya is. Ziggline is taken aback, questioning why Weiss is suddenly asking about the little brat after she had already ensured her basic needs were met. Weiss explains that he intends to travel to the fairy realm to find the hat, which is why he needs Kaya's help. Ziggline is completely taken aback, quickly noting that entry to Anaheim is restricted to elves, or those with such a family member. She suspects Weiss is using Lily to gain entry, and her mind spirals into a jealous frenzy, imagining the two might even get married. However, she suddenly snaps back to reality, indignantly reminding herself that she was the one who suggested the trip and should be the one going along. Overwhelmed by her jealousy, Ziggline suddenly blurts out a question, asking if Weiss plans to make Lily a mother figure or partner. Weiss is completely blindsided and shouts in denial. Horrified by the suggestion, he quickly explains that his only intention was to leave his teddy bear, Kumatan, with Kaya while he is away. While Lily happily hugs the toy, Weiss explains that his only intention was to have Kaya look after Kumatan while he is away. Relieved that her suspicions were wrong, Ziggline offers to hand over the memo immediately. Weiss quickly says his goodbyes and leaves. But as he departs, Ziggline suddenly freezes with a realization, prompting a confused look from Weiss. Weiss cheerfully tells Ziggline that he'll make the most of his trip. Ziggline starts to say something but quickly stops herself, simply wishing him a safe journey. As she watches him and a happy Lily, Ziggline laments that he didn't ask her to come along, but decides that rather than waiting for an invitation, she will offer to join him herself. Ziggline stands alone, sighing as she realizes that her work obligations make it impossible for her to go along. The scene then shifts abruptly to Kaya, who greets Lily and Weiss with an explosion of energy and excitement. Kaya enthusiastically welcomes Weiss and Lily into her room, calling it her castle, though Lily finds it completely empty. Kaya then reveals a flamboyant new outfit, boasting that it perfectly captures the city girl look. Weiss is left speechless and confused by her eccentric fashion sense, wondering what the capital city's idea of style even is, before Kaya asks him what he actually wants. Weiss explains that he will be away on business for about a week and needs someone to watch over his teddy bear, while he refers to it as Angel Bear. Lily quickly corrects him, calling it Kumatan, and declaring his choice of words totally unacceptable. Feeling embarrassed by the correction, Weiss eventually turns to Kaya and asks if she could look after Kumatan for a little while. Kaya suggests that Weiss ask Ziggline to look after the bear instead, claiming her own place isn't suitable for hosting. Weiss immediately realizes just looking for an excuse to go out and have fun. When Kaya suddenly switches to a coy, innocent act, Weiss is left bewildered and begins to wonder if he should teach her a lesson for getting too cocky, just as Lily calls out to him. Lily notices that Weiss' expression has become frightening. Internally, Weiss struggles to stay calm, reminding himself that he must act as a father and admitting it was his own fault for even considering leaving the precious Kumatan with an irresponsible Kaya. Like Kaya, he quickly changes his mind, apologizing and stating he will figure something else out. As he turns to leave, a bewildered Kaya is left wondering what she possibly did wrong. Weiss mentions that he was planning to offer white coins as compensation for looking after Kumatan. Upon hearing that the payment is 100,000 Zenis, Kaya's attitude shifts instantly, and she desperately begs to take care of the bear herself. However, Weiss remains unmoved, firmly stating that he cannot trust a stranger with something as precious as Kumatan. Kaya suddenly changes her tune, enthusiastically declaring herself the Angel Bear Master, to ensure she gets the reward. Despite his confusion over her sudden change of heart, Weiss agrees and hands over the payment, though he warns her that any damage to Kumatan will require full repayment. With this arrangement settled, Weiss and Lily head out the door, leaving Kaya happily hugging the teddy bear. With Kumatan safely left with Kaya, Weiss and Lily set off on their journey. They travel across a breathtaking landscape of returned mountains and open roads, taking time to play by a stream and enjoy ice cream together as they head toward their destination. 2 days after leaving the capital, Weiss and Lily make a stop. Lily excitedly proclaims herself a traveler after tumbling off the motorcycle. Seeing her enthusiasm, Weiss gently pats her head, praising her for working hard and acknowledging how exhausted she must be. Lily giggles happily as Weiss pats her head. Beaming with joy, she tells him that she can go anywhere in the world as long as her papa is by her side, ending with a sweet "I love you, papa." Weiss is left stunned, his eyes welling up as he is deeply touched by her words. Weiss is deeply moved, realizing that becoming a father was the best decision he ever made. As they arrive at their destination, Lily looks around in wonder, asking if this is the land of fairies. Weiss confirms it and tells her she might make many elf friends here, leaving Lily excited to explore the new land. Is looks around in confusion, unable to locate the gate entrance or any signs pointing the way. Lily, curious and hopeful, calls out to any fairies nearby. Suddenly, a mysterious voice echoes from the darkness, commenting on the cute little visitor they have received. Startled by the mysterious voice, Wee immediately pulls Lily close to protect her, shouting, "Who's there?" In response, a fairy emerges from a flash of light, calmly telling them that they are quick on the draw but there is no need to be so frightened. Lily and Weiss stare in awe as the fairy floats effortlessly before them. Amazed by his ability to fly, Lily excitedly asks if he is really a fairy, to which he responds with a mischievous giggle and confirms that he indeed is. The fairy introduces himself as Zinnia and warmly welcomes them to Anaheim, the land of fairies and elves. Lily is completely captivated by the magic and the revelation, standing in a daze of wonder while Weiss calls her name. Zinnia looks at Lily with a playful smile and comments on what an adorable high elf she is. Weiss is caught off guard, shouting in surprise as he asks how the fairy could possibly know about this. Zinnia simply responds that it's obvious that Lily is a high elf. Zinnia explains that Lily's magic power is completely different from that of ordinary elves, noting that common sense varies by country, and his extensive travels have given him this insight. Stunned by the revelation, Weiss realizes that high elves live in Anaheim as regular citizens, which leads him to wonder if Lily's parents might also be living there. Zinnia confirms that while high elves aren't exactly common, they do indeed live in Anaheim. Weiss is left in a state of shock and deep contemplation. As he looks at the innocent Lily, he begins to worry, questioning what he should do if they were to actually find her parents. Zinnia asks Weiss and Lily if they are aware of the entry requirements for the country. Weiss mentions that he heard elves and their families are allowed in, leading Zinnia to reveal that he is actually the one in charge of immigration screening in Anaheim. After asking for their names, Zinnia notes down Weiss and Lily in his book, officially processing their arrival. Zinnia asks if the two are family, pointing out that they seem to be of different species. Weiss awkwardly explains that they aren't related by blood, but Lily is beaming with joy, thinking to herself that Weiss is her dad. Overwhelmed with emotion, Weiss tears, deeply touched by Lily's devotion. He tells Zinnia that family isn't just about blood ties, a sentiment that Zinnia finds quite amusing. As Zinnia asks the reason for their visit, Weiss explains that they are searching for a master hat maker for Lily's hat. With the purpose clear, Zinnia finishes their paperwork and grants them entry. With a sudden flash, Weiss and Lily are transported through a massive magic circle. As they land, a beaming Zinnia welcomes them to their exciting journey in Anaheim. As they emerge from the blinding light of the teleportation magic, a voice welcomes the two guests and directs them forward. Weiss, still feeling the shock of the sudden transition, wonders about the magic used. Meanwhile, Lily is full of energy, calling out to her dad and excitedly pointing toward their new surroundings. Stunned by the sight before them, Weiss looks up in disbelief, questioning what he is seeing beside him. Lily is completely mesmerized, exclaiming in awe at the sheer scale of the view. Zinnia asks if they are surprised and explains that the towering structure is Yggdrasil, the magical tree. He describes it as the heart of Anaheim, protected by the Fairy King, and the center around which everything in the city revolves. Zinnia explains that the city of Anaheim, including its protective barrier and teleportation magic, is powered by Yggdrasil. Weiss is amazed by the tree's incredible power, while Lily is simply thrilled by the experience. With his duties finished, Zinnia points them toward the city gate and downtown, promising to return whenever they are ready to leave. Zinnia waves goodbye, wishing them a wonderful stay in Anaheim. As Weiss prepares to head toward downtown, Lily excitedly insists on walking on her own. Before he can react, she dashes forward with enthusiasm, prompting Weiss to call out to her, warning her that it's dangerous to run off alone. As they move deeper into the city, the breathtaking sight of downtown Anaheim unfolds before them. The whimsical architecture and the overwhelming scale of Yggdrasil looming above leave them utterly spellbound. Lily is filled with excitement as she points out the numerous fairies surrounding them, calling out to her father in wonder. While Weiss is equally amazed by the sight, he can't help but feel out of place, realizing how much he stands out as a human in the heart of the fairy city. As they wander through the enchanting streets of Anaheim, Lily is completely captivated by the sparkling lights. Weiss, however, is bewildered to realize that high-quality magic stones, worth tens of thousands of zeni, are simply scattered all over town. Filled with excitement, Lily tugs on Weiss' hand and eagerly points toward a shop, insisting that they go inside. Weiss is bewildered as he realizes the shop Lily is so eager to enter is actually a tavern. As he is dragged along by the energetic girl, he can't help but question where he went wrong in raising her. As they step inside, a cheerful fairy waiter welcomes them to the establishment. Weiss notices Lee's bewildered expression and asks what is wrong, while Lily looks around the refined interior in awe, commenting on how unexpectedly quiet the place is. Lily is absolutely delighted to be in the presence of fairies, excitedly reaching out to touch the waiter. The fairy, amused by her pure enthusiasm, calls her a cute customer and asks if they have just arrived in Anaheim. Weiss simply confirms that they have. Weiss expresses his surprise at seeing a fairy working as a clerk, learning that employment is the norm in Anaheim. When the fairy asks for their order, Weiss momentarily panics, fearing Lily might want alcohol, but he quickly clarifies that she will have juice. After lifting Lily onto a tall stool which she absolutely loves, Weiss asks the fairy for a drink recommendation. The fairy waiter asks for a moment and begins preparing the drinks, using magic. He levitates the bottle and ice, pouring the liquid with a flick of his wand and stirring it into a sparkling concoction. Weiss and Lily look on, completely mesmerized by the magical display. The drinks are delivered, and Lily happily blows on her beverage to cool it down. But as Weiss asks why she is so interested in alcohol, pointing out that it isn't even sweet, Lily becomes pouty. She eventually erupts into a small tantrum, kicking her legs and complaining that her dad is getting all the fun while she wants some alcohol too. Lily pouts sadly, explaining that she only wanted alcohol because everyone else seemed to be having so much fun. Watching her, Weiss has a sudden realization. He recalls the rowdy, bustling environment of Laurette's shop, wondering if that is what Lily is truly longing for. Please thinks back to Laurette's shop, a place known for its rough crowd and constant brawls. Yet for Lily, it was a place filled with happy memories. Seeing how much she misses that atmosphere, Weiss asks if she wants to try some alcohol. Lily is instantly thrilled, but Weiss quickly adds that he will only allow it on one condition. Weiss puts on a menacing expression and warns Lily that a scary witch might appear. He tells her that this witch kidnaps children who drink alcohol, which is why he has been stopping her from trying it. Terrified by the thought, Lily panics and loudly declares that she wants juice instead. Weiss chuckles and hugs the pouting girl, apologizing and telling her that it's for her own good. To distract Lily from her craving for alcohol, the fairy waiter kindly offers her some sweets, which she happily accepts. With Lily occupied, Weiss thanks the fairy and takes the opportunity to ask for information, inquiring if the fairy knows anything about a master hat maker residing in Anaheim. The fairy waiter hesitates, mentioning they might have a lead, but warns that the hat maker is unlikely to speak with Weiss. Despite Weiss insisting he has the money to pay, the fairy explains that the real issue is that the woman is extremely distrustful of humans. Walking through the forest with Lily on his back, Weiss ponders the fairy's words about the hat maker's distrust of humans. He hopes that since the hat is intended for Lily, a polite request might actually work. Suddenly, a large bird startles them, breaking his train of thought. As they continue, Weiss remains skeptical, wondering if such a mysterious shop truly exists in these parts. After their journey through the woods, Weiss and Lily arrive at their destination. They find a peculiar mushroom-shaped house with a sign depicting a pointed hat, confirming they have finally reached the master hat maker's shop. As Weiss and Lily step inside the mushroom-shaped house, they find themselves surrounded by an impressive array of hats lining the walls. Lily is completely mesmerized by the sight, whispering a soft wow in amazement. Suddenly, the master hat maker appears, greeting them with a friendly hello there as they enter the shop. Weiss explains his purpose for visiting, politely asking the master hat maker to craft a special hat for his daughter. The hat maker is immediately captivated by Lily, calling her a cute little customer. However, as she looks closer at Lily, her expression shifts to one of sudden surprise. The master hat maker gazes at Weiss with a look of sheer surprise, causing him to wonder if there is something on his face. Quickly snapping back to her professional demeanor, she dismisses his concern and leads them deeper into the shop, confirming that he wants a custom hat made for little Lily. The master hat maker asks the young girl for her name, and Lily happily introduces herself. When asked if she loves her father, Lily beams with joy, exclaiming how much she loves her daddy. Seeing their heartwarming bond, the master hat maker reflects on how wonderful a close-knit family is, though she can't help but feel a tinge of jealousy. Rin asks Weiss if she can take Lily to another room to take her measurements. Weiss agrees and tells Lily to listen carefully to Rin, referring to her as her big sister, while a mysterious warning suggests a crisis is about to strike Weiss. Lily enthusiastically promises to be a good girl and tells Weiss to wait for her as Rin leads her away. However, as Weiss remains in the shop, the master hat maker stares at him with a sudden sharp intensity, thinking to herself about how he dared to show himself before her. Caught off guard by the sudden shift in mood, Weiss can only respond with a confused, "Huh." The master hat maker looms over him, with an intense cold gaze, finally revealing her identity. "I am Ratimria," she declares, demanding to know if he recognizes her face. Weiss is completely bewildered by the woman's claim. He tries to recall the name Ratimria but finds nothing, politely explaining that he doesn't remember her, and that this is his first visit to Anaheim. He suggests she might have mistaken him for someone else. Ratimria, however, remains steadfast, her voice tinged with pain as she tells him that while he may have forgotten her, not a single day has passed where she forgot about him. Ratimiria's expression turns cold and vengeful as she declares that Weiss was the one who took everything from her. Stunned by the accusation, Weiss can only stare back in disbelief, questioning how he could have possibly done such a thing. Visibly distressed, Weiss shouts at Ratimiria, insisting that this is the first time they have ever met and that she is seriously mistaken. However, as he denies the claims, he can't help but feel that this situation is far more serious than a mere misunderstanding. All while his thoughts drift to Lily. Realizing that reasoning is useless in this volatile situation, Weiss desperately asks Ratimiria what she wants from him. Haunted by nightmares of the past, Ratimiria coldly reveals her singular desire, his life. Weiss desperately pleads for Ratimiria to calm down and talk, but he is frozen in place, fearing for Lily's safety. Ratimiria, consumed by hatred, unleashes a powerful spell declaring that she will never forgive him. As the magic circle manifests, Weiss stares in shock, recognizing the ominous spell. Filled with rage, Ratimiria screams that Weiss is the one who stole her sister from her, launching a devastating magical strike. Weiss reaches out in desperation, but he realizes it's already too late as the blast engulfs him. A sudden flashback interrupts the chaos, revealing a gentler moment from the past. A woman kindly asks Lily if something is wrong and offers her some sweet tea, noting that it is a specialty of Anaheim. Ratimiria's devastating magic hits Weiss with full force, throwing him backward as blood sprays from the impact. As his vision fades into a blur of light, Weiss' thoughts drift, acknowledging that he already knew the truth about her. The story flashes back to 8 years ago. In a quiet town, a hooded woman is cornered by 3 men who begin to harass her. Despite her silence, they persist, with one of them aggressively trying to pull back her hood to see her face. Lumi suddenly unleashes a powerful magical blast, sending one of the Aiden flying backward with a shocked cry. Terrified by her overwhelming strength, the remaining harassers quickly retreat, cursing their luck as they scramble to get away from her. A man watches in awe as Lumi effortlessly casts her spell, noting her incredible skill. He reveals that he had been wandering from country to country to evade magical authorities, but the comfort and quality of the local food and drink led him to stay in the town for an entire month. Theo approaches Lumi with a strange request, asking her if she would be willing to kidnap him. Recognizing him as the man from before, Lumi is completely bewildered and asks if he is okay in the head. Undeterred, Theo insists he is serious about wanting her to snatch him away, claiming that he isn't some shady character. Lumi confidently introduces herself as Holo de Olmaria, assuming Theo must have heard of her. When he bluntly responds that he hasn't, she expresses her disappointment, noting that things would have been simpler if he knew her. She then reveals her true identity. She is the princess of the country, leaving Theo completely bewildered. Theo tells Lumi that he believes her, leaving her completely bewildered. However, he soon clarifies that her claim of being a princess sounds crazy, and that he only believes what he can see for himself. Theo admits that, upon closer look, Lumi does seem like the real deal and looks quite princess-like. However, he quickly brings the conversation back to his bizarre request, asking what happened to the kidnapping plan. While Lumi finds him to be a little crazy, she decides she won't refuse his request. Lumi admits that she wants to get out of the country. Theo, who has enjoyed his time there, is puzzled by her wish and asks her why she wants to leave such a good place. While enjoying drinks at the tavern, Lumi opens up to Theo, admitting that she doesn't feel cut out to be a princess. She explains that although life at the palace is fine, she feels far more at ease in a simple setting like this. Theo summarizes her feelings, noting that she basically wants to quit being royalty to live as a normal person, a wish that Lumi admits might be a bit naive. Theo remarks that Lumi's motivation is typical of a spoiled princess and shockingly shallow. Lumi defends herself, mentioning her magic abilities and asking if that makes her a failure. Theo smiles and reassures her, stating that while her reason is shallow, it isn't bad, and she should be free to decide how she wants to live her life. Theo asks Lumi why she doesn't just run away on her own. Lumi explains that while her occasional trips to town are overlooked, a genuine escape would lead to an immediate manhunt. Theo points out that escaping the country alone is impossible and wonders why she chose him, noting that he simply looks tough enough to pull it off. He chuckles, calling it a typical princess move, or perhaps just crazy intuition. Lumi smiles, admitting she likes that about him, and finally agrees to the arrangement. Under a starry night sky, Theo arrives at the palace, determined to fulfill his promise to Lumi. As he scales the balcony, he reflects on the secret passages he had heard about, noting with a smirk that the country's peace has made its defenses far too lax for its own good. Theo arrives at Loomis' room and announces his arrival to kidnap her. Though he immediately feels awkward about the phrasing, he finds Lumi yawning, having just woken up from a nap. Theo questions if she is truly committed to escaping, prompting Lumi to apologize and promise to get ready immediately. As they speak, a voice from elsewhere calls out to her, asking for Big Sis, just as they are preparing to leave. A Ratimria named Ratimria enters the room, still awake and holding a stuffed bunny. Theo is caught completely off guard by her sudden appearance. Before the child can say anything or call for help, Theo quickly reaches out and covers her mouth to keep her silent. Theo firmly covers Ratimiria's mouth to keep her quiet as she tries to call out for her sister. Without wasting a moment, he scoops her up and carries her off, whispering that they are running away now. Theo makes his daring escape, leaping from the palace balcony with Lumi in his arms. Left behind, Ratimria clings to the railing, screaming in heartbreak as she watches her big sister disappear into the night. The truth is revealed. Ratimria is actually Loomis' younger sister. Returning to the present, Aiden looks at Lily with a heavy heart. Whispering a sorry, Lily looks up at him, puzzled, softly calling out to her father. The narrative returns to the palace, where the tragedy has left a lasting mark. Ratimria, once known as a bright and kind princess, is now a shell of her former self, terrified of humans and unable to even step outside. As palace officials lament her condition and her lack of appetite, a young girl named Shira watches her with a concerned expression. Seeking a way for Ratimria to heal, the palace officials decide to send her to Anaheim, a place where humans are rarely found. Noticing the bond between the two, they ask Shira if she is willing to join the journey. Determined to stay by her side, Shira eagerly agrees, vowing to accompany the princess wherever she goes. Ratimria looks at Lily with a stoic expression, noting how much the young girl truly loves humans. Lily beams with joy, excitedly talking about how her father saved her and her dream of becoming a magic user to help him in return. However, the mood shifts as it is revealed that the room is sealed by a powerful barrier created by Ratimiria's royal magic, meaning they have no way of knowing what is happening to Lily's father on the outside. Ratimiria begins to plant seeds of doubt in Lily's mind, asking if she wants to meet her real father. She explains that because humans and elves are different species, Lily truly belongs with her own kind, suggesting they could find her biological parents in Anaheim. While Shira feels pity for the innocent child, her absolute loyalty to Ratimiria keeps her from intervening. Lily looks on, confused and questioning the meaning of a real papa. Confused and heartbroken, Lily cannot comprehend Ratimiria's words. She pleads to return to her father, her voice filled with desperation. However, Ratimiria, despite her apology, proceeds to push the young elf away, further isolating her from the man she loves. Ratimiria delivers a crushing blow, telling Lily that she can never see her father again. Overwhelmed with fear, Lily screams and desperately begs for the door to be opened, calling out for her father to save her. But Ratimiria remains cold, stating that the door is impossible to open, even for her, before starting to reveal a grim truth about Aiden. Ratimiria delivers a devastating blow, coldly suggesting that Lily's father might no longer be in this world. Lily freezes, her eyes wide with horror as she struggles to process the news. Ratimiria coldly tells Lily that Anaheim is a wonderful place, and that she will be much happier there. However, her words are cut short as a sudden, powerful blast strikes, leaving Ratimiria in a state of complete shock. Shira is taken aback by a sudden shift in the atmosphere, wondering what is happening. At that moment, a violent surge of energy erupts, striking Ratimiria and tearing through the sealed room. As the atmosphere shifts, a violent swirl of magic begins to gather around Lily. Overwhelmed by sorrow and desperation, Lily cries out for her father, while a stunned Ratimiria looks on, bewildered by the sudden eruption of power. The violent surge of magic continues to erupt, knocking Ratimiria back as she calls out Lai's name in alarm. Amidst the swirling energy, Lily is consumed by grief and guilt, sobbing through her tears that she won't be selfish anymore. Lily is swept up in the center of the violent magical vortex, her voice trembling as she desperately promises to be good. Meanwhile, Ratimiria is left completely stunned, her face twisted in shock as she witnesses the overwhelming power erupting from the young girl. Overwhelmed by grief and fear, Lily screams for her father, pleading for him to save her. As the magical energy reaches a violent peak, the resulting blast sends Ratimiria flying backward in terror. Engulfed by the blinding radiance of the magical circle, Lily weeps in absolute terror, her voice echoing through the room as she desperately begs for someone not to leave her behind. A blinding flash of light erupts with devastating force, triggering a massive explosion that tears through the room and sends shards of wood and stone flying in every direction. The dust settles to reveal a scene of total devastation. Ratimiria groans, struggling to recover from the blast, while a heartbroken Lily curls up in the debris, sobbing and calling for her father. And slowly wakes up, hearing Lily's voice calling out to him. He smiles to himself, thinking that there is nothing better in the world than waking up to his daughter's voice. Lily excitedly shouts for him to wake up, and Aiden greets her with a look of pure happiness and love. The serene morning disappears in an instant, replaced by the harsh reality of the wreckage. Aiden snaps back to consciousness, his expression one of pure shock as he looks at Lily. Panicked and tearful, Lily cries out to him, desperately asking if he is okay, while Aiden remains momentarily stunned and bewildered by the sudden transition. Aiden quickly reaches out to Lily, his voice filled with concern as he asks if she is hurt. Although Lily insists that nothing hurts, she breaks down in tears, sobbing that she thought her father was gone forever. Lily continues to sob, calling out to her father as Aiden pulls her close in a protective embrace. He softly reassures her that he is okay and thanks her, while he internally laments the fact that his precious daughter had to experience such distress. Aiden holds Lily tightly, promising himself that he will never let her be sad again. But as a memory of the past flickers, he is suddenly jolted back to reality. He looks down to find blood on his hand, confused as to why he is hurt. In a moment of sudden realization, he screams out Ratimiria's name. Ratimria looks around in confusion, questioning why the door is gone. Meanwhile, Aiden holds Lily close and tells her to wait there for a moment, his expression turning serious and determined. Filled with determination, Aiden vows never to betray Lily's trust again. He clenches his fist, declaring that a father must never lose in front of his daughter and aspiring to be the strongest creature in the world. He looks at Lily and gently assures her that everything is going to be all right. Ratimria is in complete disbelief, questioning how her layered seals could have been broken so easily. Aiden calmly explains the reason. His daughter is a high elf. Stunned, Ratimria acknowledges that while high elves are an advanced and different race, she cannot fathom such immense power coming from a child like Lily. Overwhelmed by fear, Ratimria screams for Aiden to stay away, frantically conjuring a glowing magic barrier to shield herself. Aiden remains composed, musing that while he had heard high elves reside in Anaheim, they are not as familiar as one might think. Aiden realizes that Ratimiria's magic is far more powerful than he initially thought, admitting that losing consciousness was a grave error. However, he finds a strategic opening in her assault. As he calculates his next move, Ratimiria screams in rage, calling him a stupid human and demanding that he give her sister back. Aiden remains composed as he intercepts the overwhelming magical blast, his hand raised to deflect the energy. His expression is one of intense focus and determination as he counters Ratimiria's assault. Ratimiria stares in utter disbelief, unable to understand how her massive surge of energy was simply erased. As she stands frozen, Aiden reflects on the difficulty of the technique he just employed. He notes that it requires immense reflexes and a thorough analysis of the opponent's magic, often requiring one to take a direct hit first. By matching the kind and amount of energy and clashing them out of phase, he successfully cancels out the attack entirely. Aiden reveals the name of his technique: Mutual Annihilation. With a confident and determined look, he warns Ratimiria that her attacks will no longer reach him, declaring that her failure to finish him off the first time has become her ultimate downfall. Ratimiria stands frozen, bewildered by Aiden's confidence. However, as she tightly grips her wand, her shock transforms into a burning hatred. She recalls the trauma of her past, revealing that her despise for all humans was born from the moment her beloved sister, Holo, was kidnapped. Driven by her deep-seated rage and the memory of her lost sister, Ratimiria refuses to believe her power can be countered. She unleashes another surge of magic, screaming that there is no way her attacks will be stopped. Lily cries out, "Papa!" with a worried expression, her eyes wide with concern. Aiden looks back at her calmly, reassuring her by saying, "I'm fine, Lily." Aiden closes his eyes and focuses, sending his awareness flowing through every inch of his body's magic. He works to analyze and perfectly replicate the quality and frequency of Ratimiria's magic in order to reverse the phase. As he prepares his counter, Ratimiria screams in fury, declaring that she will never forgive him and is determined to kill him. Ratimiria's rage intensifies as she focuses her attack. Before delivering the final blow, she screams at Aiden, demanding to know exactly where her sister was taken and ordering him to spit it out. Ratimiria unleashes a torrent of magical energy, sending massive chain-like arcs crashing down toward Aiden. As the overwhelming attack fills the air, Lily can only watch in terror. With a determined expression, Aiden thrusts his hand forward and shouts release, unleashing a powerful counterstrike to repel the magical chains crashing down upon him. Aiden stands composed and untouched amidst the bursts of dissipating energy, having successfully neutralized the assault. Below, Ratimiria stares up in utter disbelief, her expression one of pure shock as she realizes her devastating attack was effortlessly countered. Stunned and trembling, Ratimiria stares at Aiden in horror. She cannot wrap her mind around the fact that her powerful attack was completely neutralized, leading her to demand in desperation to know exactly what he is. terrified and unable to comprehend how her magic was neutralized. Ratimria screams for Aiden to stay back. As he calmly closes the distance, she is left spiraling in confusion, wondering why this is happening and how he could be so unfazed. Aiden closes the distance, reaching out his hand toward the trembling Ratimria. With a blank, overwhelming gaze, he extends his palm, leaving her frozen in fear. Ratimria is paralyzed with terror, a single tear falling as Aiden's hand looms over her. She can only manage a faint, trembling whimper of fear. Then, Aiden's voice cuts through the darkness, asking her a chilling question. "You want to see Holostarsha?" Ratimria stares at Aiden in complete bewilderment, her mind racing to understand what he means. Completely thrown off by his strange proposal, she can only manage a confused, breathless response. The intensity of the previous moment fades as the perspective shifts to a quiet town street. Hooded figures wander through the narrow alleys, while a group of muscular men stands watch, observing the surroundings in silence. Lily bursts in with a joyful shout, announcing her return home. She throws herself into Weiss' arms, calling him Dad and excitedly declaring that they have reached Zenith. While Weiss is surprised by her early return, the woman with the large hat stands by, utterly shocked and questioning what kind of strange town Zenith actually is. The Anne explains that Zenith is a phantom city, a hidden place for criminals that doesn't appear on any map, and reveals that Holostarsha lives there. Overwhelmed with shock and anger, Mina confronts Weiss, demanding to know what he did to her sister and insisting on seeing her right away. Weiss remains composed, telling her to keep calm and not to get lost. Lily beams with excitement, shouting that she wants to see Holonichan. Soon Weiss agrees and suggests they stop by Loretto's shop, which makes Lily cheer. While Weiss wonders about his next move, Luca observes his serene Buddha vibes as Lily sprints ahead, prompting Weiss to warn her not to fall. As Theo carries Ratimria through Zenith, he keeps a heavy secret. He reflects that Holostarsha wasn't kidnapped 8 years ago. Instead, she chose to leave her family and Ratimria behind to claim her own freedom, while Mina and Lily are nearby. Theo worries about the emotional fallout Ratimria will face when she finally learns the truth during their reunion. Theo and Ratimria finally arrive at their destination in Zenith. As they reach the shop, Lily bursts through the door with a cheerful and energetic greeting. Upon entering, they are welcomed by Rin, who looks up with a surprised and confused expression upon seeing the group. Rin is completely stunned to see Weiss and Lai's arrival. However, before she can say anything more, Ratimria suddenly lunges forward and hugs her tightly, crying out "sis" in an emotional outburst. Rin is stunned as she realizes who the girl hugging her is. "Ratimria?" she exclaims, shocked by how much the girl has grown. Ratimria, sobbing, tells her that she has been looking for her all this time. Weiss softly asks Lily to stop crying, offering her a comforting smile. Nearby, the mood turns cheerful as Rin excitedly tells Loretson and Weiss about Kumatan, who now lives with her. Loretson looks on warmly, expressing his happiness at seeing them all doing well. The atmosphere turns solemn as Ratimria looks at Weiss with a pained expression. She confesses that after hearing the truth from her sister, she realizes how wrong she was, admitting that she once harbored a deep hatred for humans and even for Weiss himself. Overcome with guilt, she offers a sincere apology, but she is quickly reassured that it wasn't her fault. Weiss tells Ratimria that it was natural for her to hate him, admitting that his intervention was the reason she and Holo were separated. Overcome with regret, Ratimria turns to Lily and apologizes for scaring her, while the young elf girl looks on with a confused expression. Weiss remarks that living in Zenith teaches one not to sweat the small things. Observing that Lily doesn't seem to mind the situation, he believes that whatever happens between Rin and Ratimria from now on is their own business, concluding that his job in helping them reconcile is done. With a smile, he suggests they call it even and enjoy some drinks together. Weiss casually mentions that he had completely forgotten about Holo's status as a princess until now. This revelation leaves Lily wide-eyed in shock, unable to believe that her Holonichan is royalty. Rin laughs and hugs Lily, confirming that Holo is indeed a princess, even if she doesn't look the part at the moment. Lily happily declares her love for Rin, who embraces her with a smile, admitting that she loves Lily too. Watching the two bond, Ziggline observes that Lily is definitely the closest to Holo. Weiss takes a sip of his drink, thinking to himself that Zigline's troubles won't be ending anytime soon. Lily beams with pure joy as she presents her new look, exclaiming "Tada" and calling for her father's attention. Aiden looks on with absolute adoration, hearts practically floating around him as he tells her that the outfit suits her perfectly. Lily beams with pure joy, thanking Rin for the wonderful gift. Aiden is equally impressed, declaring the hat to be a masterpiece that fits her perfectly. However, as Rin watches the happy girl, a look of solemn reflection crosses her face, silently hoping that this act of kindness can make up for the mistakes of her past. Weiss tells Lily that they should put her new hat away for a moment. He explains that since they'll be riding a magical bike, Her precious hat might fly off in the wind. Lily happily agrees to the suggestion. Rin looks at Weiss with a soft expression, thanking him for everything. She admits that she didn't understand him when she was younger, but because of him, Lily now feels as though she has found a true big sister. As Lily hugs Rin tightly in joy, simply responds with a quiet "I see," acknowledging the bond they've formed. With a bright smile and a wave, Weiss tells everyone to take care as he and Lily prepare to leave. The group watches them go, their faces filled with warmth. As the magical bike speeds across the landscape, the journey leads them once again toward the capital. Lily enthusiastically shares her joy with Kumatan, telling him all about seeing her big sister Holo. Nearby, Weiss and Ari observe a monster, noting that it seems to have grown significantly stronger after being cared for by Kaya. Meanwhile, Ziggline expresses her comfort in the current location, admitting that even though it is borrowed, it truly feels like home. Lily beams with joy, calling out to Ziggline and showing off her new school hat. Ziggline, though clearly flustered and awkward around children, manages to tell Lily that the hat suits her perfectly. Watching from the side, Weiss reflects on Ziggline's personality. Noting that while she has a kind heart, it is often hidden by her social clumsiness. He decides that he should help bring out those good traits, so Lily can appreciate them too. Ari reminds Weiss not to be late for tomorrow's entrance ceremony and offers to pick him up in the morning. When she realizes he is attending, Weiss brings up a previous promise, suggesting that he could help her by letting her play the role of Lily's mother. This revelation leaves Ari stunned and hopeful, as she asks if she can truly take on that role during the ceremony. Ari expresses her hesitation, wondering how Lily would feel about the arrangement. Weiss gently tells her that since it's such an important day for the girl, she doesn't have to push herself into the role. This unexpected consideration leaves Ari stunned, questioning if he is truly serious. Ari is left stunned as the plan takes an unexpected turn. Lily, with a playful and thoughtful expression, decides that Ziggline should be the one to act as her mother. Ziggline is completely caught off guard, flustered and overwhelmed as Lily hugs her tightly. Wes watches the scene with a knowing look, noting that this is exactly why the arrangement works. Meanwhile, Lily excitedly tells Kumatan about her new mom for tomorrow. Ari is left bewildered as Kumatan suddenly launches a playful but aggressive attack on Ziggline. Overwhelmed by the Kumatan's energy and knocked off balance, Ziggline shouts for Weiss to intervene, while Lily and Weiss watch the chaotic scene unfold. Weiss suggests that since Kumatan is finally warming up to her, Ziggline should try petting the creature. Confused and hesitant, Ziggline questions the idea, but eventually she tentatively reaches out her shaking hand to pet the excited Kumatan. Seeing Ziggline's continued hesitation, Weiss lets out a sigh and takes her hand, guiding it directly onto Kumatan's head. Startled by the sudden touch and a peculiar sound from the creature, Ziggline reacts with confusion and alarm, wondering what that noise was. Noticing Ziggline's flustered expression, apologizes, assuming she is simply terrified of monsters, though she quickly tries to deny it. The awkward moment is interrupted by Lily, who excitedly asks her papa if she can play with Kumatan, and Weiss readily agrees. The day of the entrance ceremony finally arrives. Lily is overflowing with excitement, proudly showing Weiss that she managed to get dressed all by herself, which earns her a warm compliment. As they get ready to head out, Weiss takes on the role of a careful father, checking if she has her handkerchief. However, when he asks about her wand, Lily freezes, realizing she has forgotten it. Lily quickly rushes off to find her wand, with Weiss reminding her not to forget her hat as well. As he watches her, Weiss becomes determined, believing that a successful school life depends on a perfect start. He refuses to let Lily be looked down upon by others and resolves that, as her father, he must be perfect too. Having found her wand, Lily appears fully dressed in her school attire, radiating joy. When Weiss asks if she's ready, she enthusiastically confirms, urging him to leave for school immediately. Weiss smiles warmly, touched by her enthusiasm, and thinking about how fast she has grown. A brief flashback reveals the heartbreaking image of Lily as a slave who had lost all hope in the world. However, that version of her is gone, replaced by the joyful girl she is now. With a bright future ahead of her, Lily reminds Wes that it's time to leave for school, and he agrees. Ziggline greets Lily with a warm good morning in her excitement. Lily looks up at her and instinctively calls her mama, leaving Ziggline stunned. Realizing her mistake, Lily quickly corrects herself, greeting Ziggline properly. Ziggline smiles, telling Lily she is glad to be with her today. Nearby, Wes watches the interaction, suddenly realizing why Lily might have made such a mistake. Ziggline suddenly reaches out and grips Lily's hand tightly, leaving both of them startled. Lily quickly turns back to Weiss, asking him to hold her hand too. Weiss calmly agrees, and the three of them continue their walk toward the ceremony. The three of them walk together in a heartwarming scene, with Lily beaming with pure joy while holding hands with both Weiss and Ziggline. Lily is absolutely beaming with joy, exclaiming her happiness about the entrance ceremony and her dream of becoming a wizard. Ziggline smiles softly, noting how nice the moment is. Watching them, Weiss can't help but agree, thinking to himself that this isn't half bad. Weiss reflects on the warmth of the moment, but his peace is quickly interrupted. He suddenly stops in his tracks, noticing a familiar figure. Lily excitedly recognizes the girl, shouting, "Big sis Kaya," leaving Weiss bewildered as he asks what she is doing there. Kaya admits that she only wants to attend the entrance ceremony because she heard there would be a feast. She jokingly suggests posing as Lily's mother, but Ari laughs in her face, pointing out that Kaya is far too young for the role. Even when Kaya tries to pivot and claim she could be a big sister, Ari remains unimpressed. Frustrated, Kaya vows to find a way into the ceremony regardless. Kaya leans in to admire Lily, exclaiming how shiny and new her robe is. Lily happily shows off her outfit, beaming with joy and telling Kaya how much she loves the shine. Kaya continues to gush over her, comparing Lily to a real princess and calling her super cute. Watching the interaction, Weiss thinks to himself that Kaya has become Lily's first friend, though he can't help but feel that it is a bit unfortunate. The group finally arrives at the imposing Nastasia Magic Academy, the most historic and renowned institution in the Empire. Known for its top-notch education and merit-based selection, the Academy serves as a gateway to high-ranking positions in government and corporate sectors. Among its many distinguished alumni is Professor Esmeralda, though the narrator notes that the most famous recent graduate is the youngest person ever promoted to assistant to the Minister of Magic. As they enter the Academy, Zigline's distinctive cape makes her instantly recognizable to the crowd, sparking whispers about her identity and personal life. Ziggline notes the sudden attention, to which Weiss simply reminds her that she is famous. In a comedic turn, Kaya is stopped at the gates and denied entry, leaving her to protest in frustration. As they step further into the academy, Lily is wide-eyed and overwhelmed by the sheer number of people surrounding them. She looks to Weiss and Ziggline for security, while Ziggline firmly holds her hand, reminding her not to let go in the bustling crowd. As they proceed, the crowd erupts in whispers. People are stunned that Ziggline has a daughter, especially an elf, and admire her for balancing her demanding career with motherhood. Even the guards are affected, with one feeling heartbroken that his idol is already married. The onlookers begin to speculate that Weiss must be the husband, though they don't recognize him from the social scene. Unaware of the full extent of the gossip, Weiss notices her to look at the auditorium and encourages her to hi. They finally arrive at the auditorium, where the grand scale of the hall leaves Lily in awe. As they enter, the curious gazes of the other guests continue to follow them, still buzzing with the rumors from outside. Lily looks around the grand auditorium with sparkling eyes, her face beaming with pure joy and wonder. Weiss watches her from the seat next to her, amused by her innocent and energetic excitement. Weiss warmly tells Lily that the other students are her classmates, and hopes they all become good friends. When Lily looks confused by the word, Ari steps in to explain that classmates are the friends she will be studying with, mentioning that she and Weiss were classmates themselves. Weiss agrees, though he admits he doesn't remember much about his time as a student, except for Professor Esmeralda's class. Weiss reflects on his past, admitting to himself that he can't recall the names of any of his former classmates except for Ziggline. At that moment, Ziggline turns to him with a smile, confirming his identity and welcoming him back to the imperial capital after a long time. A cheerful Zinnia approaches the group, greeting them with high energy. Weiss recognizes him as Medici, mentioning that he hasn't seen Ziggline since last month. Upon realizing that Ziggline is now the deputy director, Medici is visibly stunned, while Ziggline responds with a quiet, calm acknowledgement. Medici expresses her pride in Ziggline's achievements, though Ziggline modestly dismisses it as simply performing her daily duties. Ziggline then introduces Medici Florencia to Weiss, reminding him of their past friendship. While Weiss silently admires Zigline's strength, he warmly greets Medici, telling her she is as beautiful as ever. Medici smiles, relieved to see that Weiss isn't changed at all. Weiss notices that Medici is wearing an angel bear robe, which reminds him of the Florencia family's immense political influence over the Ministry of Magic. Realizing this could make things difficult, he remains wary. Suddenly, Medici asks a surprising question, wondering if Weiss and Ziggline are married and questioning why he has been away from the imperial capital for so long. Medici shifts her focus to the young girl, noting with curiosity that Lily is an elf. She asks Weiss to explain the situation, leaving him and Ari to react as the focus turns toward the first challenge. Ziggline reflects on the difficulty of the situation, knowing that Medici's family holds significant power over the Ministry of Magic. She fears that any complicated explanation regarding her desire to be a mother to Lily, a rare high elf, could lead to damaging rumors that would affect the girl's school life. Just as the tension peaks, Weiss steps in, determined to find a way to navigate through the interrogation. Weiss takes a bold approach to handle the situation, suddenly declaring that he has always liked Ziggline since their student days. This unexpected confession leaves Ziggline stunned and Ari completely shocked. As Ari starts to react in disbelief, Weiss quickly shuts her down, demanding that she play along with his sudden fabrication. Weiss puts on a passionate performance, claiming that his feelings for Ziggline were uncontrollable. The moment he returned to the imperial capital, he insists that he somehow managed to win her heart, leaving Ziggline confused and speechless. To solidify the deception, Weiss desperately pressures Ziggline to confirm the story. Caught in the moment, Ziggline hesitantly agrees, while Ari can only watch in utter disbelief at Weiss' boldness. Ziggline is left in a state of total shock, her mind racing as she processes Weiss' claim that he loves her. The entire auditorium falls into a heavy, awkward silence as the other attendees watch the scene unfold. Meanwhile, Ari can only stare at Weiss with a deadpan expression, utterly stunned by his boldness. Lily looks up at Weiss with wide, innocent eyes, asking if he truly loves her mom, Ziggline. Caught in his own web of lies and trembling with panic, Weiss instinctively shouts that he does, even going as far as to claim that he and Ziggline are married. Ari watches in utter disbelief as Weiss' fake confession spirals completely out of control. With absolute audacity, Weiss declares his love for Ziggline. The moment is depicted as a romantic fantasy, with cherubs fluttering above and flower petals raining down, leaving Ziggline bewildered and the onlookers stunned. While Ari looks on in absolute horror at his sheer audacity, Weiss maintains his smug confidence. He tells Lily that family is the most important thing to him, causing the little elf girl to erupt in pure, innocent excitement over the idea of her parents being together. Ziggline, looking exhausted, puts an end to the commotion, urging everyone to hurry as the ceremony is about to start. Weiss smirks to himself, relieved that his plan worked and that no one questioned Lily's presence. Meanwhile, Ari is left completely devastated, her spirit broken by the sheer audacity of Weiss' lies, as the principal begins the opening remark. With the ceremony officially concluded, the students and their guardians are instructed to move to their respective classrooms. Lily looks on with a smile next to a serious-looking Sierra. As they gather, the crowd is shocked to realize that Weiss, Ari, and Ziggline have been placed in the same class. Weiss simply smiles, suggesting that they all be good classmates. Lily rushes toward Weiss with pure excitement, calling out to her father. As she does, the surrounding students can't help but notice her. Commenting on her unique hair and elf features, they whisper among themselves, convinced that she is indeed the child of Weiss and Ziggline, while a panicked Weiss desperately tries to get her to settle down and not cause a scene. As Lily continues to draw attention, a sudden explosion of roses blooms around her, visually representing her overwhelming cuteness. The surrounding students can only stare in disbelief, completely captivated by the scene. Lily giggles with delight as the students continue to marvel at her. However, the atmosphere shifts as a mysterious figure steps into the room. Holding a black book with sharp-nailed hands, the stranger remarks that it has been a long time since they felt this particular sensation. Esmeralda Sensei appears with a wide, unsettling smile, welcoming everyone to the academy. Her sudden presence catches the students off guard, leaving Ari and Weiss bewildered, since they were under the impression that she had retired from teaching. Lily is absolutely ecstatic to see Esmeralda Sensei shouting "Robe Grandma" and rushing toward her to ask why she is at the school. Esmeralda smiles warmly, recognizing the little girl immediately. Meanwhile, Weiss is in a state of total panic, frantically yelling for Lily to be quiet, to avoid causing any more scene. Weiss sighs in exhaustion, thinking that the class might need special training in quietness before they even begin their lessons. Meanwhile, Esmeralda Sensei takes charge of the room, formally introducing herself as their homeroom teacher, Esmeralda Eisenbahn, with a welcoming smile. Esmeralda Sensei looks at the guardians with a knowing, mischievous grin, noting that she sees some familiar faces. She teases Weiss and Ziggline, expressing her disbelief that they have already become parents. As the camera pulls back to show the grand architecture of the academy, the narrative concludes that Lily's school life has finally begun. Exhausted from the unfamiliar surroundings and the excitement of her first day, Lily falls fast asleep. Weiss carries her gently on his shoulder, thinking about how hard she tried her best. As they look at the sleeping girl, Ari turns to Ziggline with a smirk, teasingly reminding her that she wanted to play the role of the mom. Weiss suddenly snaps into a determined mode, shouting orders to get Lily ready for bed. He instructs Ari and Ziggline to start by removing her robe from the right arm, leaving them completely bewildered by his sudden intensity. Meanwhile, Lily remains fast asleep and oblivious to the commotion, as Weiss calls for Kaya to prepare her pajamas. Chaos ensues as Ziggline panics, admitting she has never changed a child's clothes and fears injuring Lily. Amidst the confusion, a suggestion to use practical magic is made to assist with the process. Weiss, however, keeps his cool, glancing at Ari and reminding her of her wish to be the mom. Determined not to give up, Ari takes the challenge of being a parent seriously, declaring that I can't is not an acceptable answer. After a struggle, she finally manages to get Lily ready for bed. As they look at the peacefully sleeping girl, the trio realizes just how exhausting childcare can be. As the chaos settles, Lily admits that she hasn't eaten anything and is absolutely starving, her stomach growling loudly. Seeing her plight, Weiss cheerfully suggests that they all go grab a bite to eat. Lily enthusiastically agrees, and the group soon finds themselves gathered around a table filled with food and drinks. As they settle in for their meal, Weiss brings out a special bottle, explaining that he saved it specifically to share a drink with everyone. Ziggline warns him not to get his hopes up, noting that the drink is actually her father's favorite rather than her own. Regardless, the group is in high spirits, and they all happily clink their glasses together in a joyful toast. The group is completely blown away by the taste of the drink Weiss provided, with the flavors of various fruits exploding in their mouths. The refreshing and tart quality of the beverage leaves them in absolute awe. Later, the excitement of the day finally catches up with Lily, and she drifts off into a serene sleep. Ari seems a bit tipsy after drinking the special beverage. Weiss notices her dazed expression and warns her that while the drink is easy to consume, it is actually quite strong in her intoxicated state. Ari begins to wonder if she successfully managed to be a mom today without causing any trouble. Weiss gently reassures Ari, telling her that she wasn't a trouble at all, and that Lily seemed to be having fun. He adds that he is actually grateful to her for her help. Touched by his kindness, Ari softly replies, I see, as they both fall into a quiet, reflective silence while continuing their drinks. Ari looks on with a tender, blushing expression, thinking about how much Lily has grown and how considerate she has become. However, noticing Weiss staring at her with a smile, she quickly becomes embarrassed and tells him to stop. Overwhelmed by her emotions and his kindness, she suddenly leans across the table and demands to know what on earth he is trying to do. Ari is completely flustered, unable to handle the tension and the alcohol. In her agitation, she accidentally knocks over her drink, shouting that she needs more booze. As she drinks aggressively to numb her embarrassment, Weiss looks on in shock, desperately asking if she is seriously okay, to which she loudly declares that she is definitely not okay. Completely intoxicated, Ari loudly declares that there is something she has always wanted to tell Weiss. However, the moment is interrupted when Ziggline, also drunk, suddenly lunges at him, forcing a startled Weiss to hold her back. As Weiss realizes how erratic Ziggline becomes under the influence, a dazed Ari continues to struggle with her words, determined to finally say what is on her mind. Ari suddenly shouts for Witz's attention. Catching him off guard in her drunken state, she begins to vent her frustrations, calling him a complete idiot for leaving without saying a word or leaving a letter. Despite her harsh words, claiming she can't stand him and cannot forgive him, her flushed face and swirling eyes betray her emotional turmoil. Following her outburst, Ari eventually succumbs to the alcohol and falls fast asleep on the table, her glasses cast aside. Weiss, looking exasperated, tries to wake her up to take her home, noting that sleeping in such a state would be a poor look for a daughter of the Floyd family. Weiss sighs, looking at the chaotic scene before him. Both Ari and Ziggline are out cold, leaving him to deal with the aftermath of what he sarcastically calls a mess of an entrance ceremony. Nearby, Lily continues to sleep peacefully. The morning after the chaotic drinking session arrives, Ziggline wakes Ari up with a loud shout, demanding she get to work, while Ari groans in pain from a massive hangover. As Weiss checks on them, he tells Kaya it is time to head out so that Lily can get ready for school. In the kitchen, while frying eggs, Weiss greets a sleepy Lily, telling her to wash up and get dressed for the day. Lily is absolutely thrilled, shouting with joy, and reminding Weiss that it's time for school and class. Weiss looks on with a smile, noting to himself that she is now completely awake, and asks her if she's excited. The delicious scent of fresh bread fills the air, leaving Lily completely enamored. Weiss brings out a tray of warm, freshly baked buns, prompting a joyful wow from the little girl. As breakfast is finally served, Lily happily insists on helping, carrying a basket of bread with Kumatan cheering her on. With the meal ready, Weiss and Lily sit down at the table. Lily is brimming with excitement, shouting that it's time to eat. As Weiss prepares the food, Lily insistently tells her dad that she doesn't need any vegetables in her ham and egg sandwich. Weiss firmly rejects Lily's request to skip the vegetables, insisting that they are important for her to encourage her to eat. He playfully presents the sandwich as special bread that helps you become a great mage. Lily tentatively takes a small bite, but Kumatan doesn't hesitate, happily munching away on the meal with great gusto. Lily happily munches on the sandwich, finding it delicious. Seeing her enjoyment, Weiss smiles and praises her, jokingly thinking to himself that she truly has the makings of a great mage. As Lily gets ready to leave the house for school, Weiss asks if she is sure about going alone, offering to walk her there. Confident and full of energy, Lily insists that she can do it herself and gives him a bright, cheerful wave as she departs. Lily waves goodbye and heads off with a cheerful, "Okay," as Weiss tells her to be careful. However, the moment she is gone, Weiss' friendly smile vanishes. He realizes that letting a defenseless child like Lily wander alone is out of the question, especially since he knows she likely doesn't even remember the way to school. With a determined look, Weiss activates a magic circle in his hand, deciding to secretly protect her. Weiss activates a powerful strength spell, invisibility, a difficult technique that typically guarantees a high-ranking position as an intelligence officer in the Ministry of Magic. As he fades from view, he further suppresses his presence to ensure he remains undetected by even the most skilled mages. With his stealth perfected, he sets off to follow Lily, thinking he might as well check if Professor Esmeralda's skills have grown rusty. Lily skips along the path, humming a cheerful tune and waving a branch like a magic staff. Unbeknownst to her, Weiss follows close behind, hidden by his invisibility spell, keeping a watchful eye on her safety. In Weiss' mind, the simple walk to school is a gauntlet of terror. With the streets appearing full of lurking monsters and imminent danger, however, the reality is far more peaceful. Lily continues to stroll along the cobblestone path, pausing for a moment with a confused look on her face. Lily stops a Kaya on the street to ask for directions to her school. The Kaya is charmed by the little elf, asking if she's a new student and where her parents are, while Lily secretly views her walk as a grand adventure. Watching invisibly, Weiss immediately worries that she shouldn't be talking to strangers, planning to lecture her later. However, he quickly shifts to being immensely proud when he realizes Lily used proper honorifics. Lily continues her walk, humming a cheerful tune as she leaves Kaya behind. However, she suddenly stops in her tracks, looking around with a puzzled expression. Sensing something familiar, she softly asks, "Dad?" Leaving the invisible Weiss is completely startled by her intuition. With a curious look on her face, Lily softly calls out, "Papa?" Nearby, Weiss is caught completely off guard, a drop of sweat rolling down his face as he realizes his Srank invisibility spell failed to hide him from his daughter. Lily looks around anxiously, calling out for her father. She stops and stares directly at the empty air, sensing Weiss's presence, which leaves him completely flustered and nervous. However, after a moment of doubt, she wonders if it was all just her imagination, concluding that he isn't actually there. Weiss is completely stunned. He knows that invisibility is an extremely advanced spell used for high-stakes espionage, and given Lily's current inability to use magic, she technically shouldn't have been able to see through it. He wonders if this is a unique mana perception inherent to high elves, and he is overcome with pride at her amazing talent. As he marvels at her, Lily arrives at the school gates, ready to start her day. Lily politely apologizes for intruding as she enters the school, but the guards quickly reassure her. One of the guards kneels down and compliments her staff, suggesting it might be a legendary sword. Lily is instantly thrilled by the idea, believing it to be a special weapon. Taking advantage of her excitement, the guard gently suggests she put it away safely so its power doesn't accidentally hurt anyone during school. Weiss admires the guard's kindness toward children, as Lily happily agrees to follow the rules. After entering the school building, Lily makes her way into the classroom. With a bright smile and boundless energy, she greets her classmates with a loud mornin', leaving a quiet girl slightly taken aback. The teacher, Esmeralda sensei, greets the class with a warm smile, and the students respond in unison. Feeling nostalgic about teaching younger students after many decades, she decides to start the day with self-introductions, admitting that it is a struggle for her to remember all their names at her age. The students begin their introductions, with Mateo Turner dreaming of becoming a cool wizard, Sophia Klein sharing her love for apple pie, and Noah Bertram aspiring to work for the Ministry of Magic. However, Esmeralda sensei is not fooled. She is well aware of Weiss' presence, questioning why he would use such an advanced class spell just for a school observation day. Esmeralda sensei reminisces about the students from Weiss' time, noting how unique they all were. A flashback shows a younger Weiss and his classmates, revealing that Ziggline was clearly in love with him. However, Weiss never seemed to notice her feelings, and he vanished shortly after graduation. In a lingering memory, Weiss and Aries discuss the strange possibility of a marriage, finding the idea completely weird. Returning to the present, Esmeralda sensei privately wonders if Ziggline will ever find her happy ending. She then calls for the next student to introduce themselves, and Lily eagerly jumps in shouting, "Here," with sparkling eyes. Lily steps forward to introduce herself, momentarily stumbling over her last name before proudly announcing she is Lily Frenberg. With a bright, beaming smile, she declares her dream of becoming a proper wizard when she grows up so that she can help her papa, while Weiss looks on from the sidelines, appearing slightly overwhelmed by her energy. Esmeralda sensei thanks Lily and prepares to call on the next student. Nearby, Weiss is completely overwhelmed with emotion, weeping into his hand. But his attempt to stay hidden is short-lived. Esmeralda-sensei suddenly calls his name, questioning what he thinks he's doing. Shocked that his invisibility was useless, Weiss exclaims in surprise, only for the teacher to proudly remind him that she is far too skilled to be fooled. Weiss reacts to being called a doting dad, though he quickly shifts the conversation to Esmeralda's return to teaching. After some light-hearted bickering about her age and skills, Weiss admits he wanted to see if she had grown rusty. Trusting her legendary status as a high elf, he feels confident leaving Lily in her care, and sincerely thanks his former teacher. Spiss asks Esmeralda-sensei to push Lily hard in her training so she can learn to defend herself. However, Esmeralda-sensei shifts the conversation to Weiss' personal life, reasoning him to pay more attention to Ziggline since they are married. While Weiss insists that Lily is not blood-related, he internally grumbles that Ziggline is only playing the role of a mother due to her fascination with high elves. The world's magic is centered around the 5 great elements: fire, water, lightning, earth, and wind. While most mages have a natural affinity for one of these, and anyone can learn them through training, special elements like light and dark are far rarer and strictly require a specific affinity to be used. Light affinity is particularly used into the medical field, often leading practitioners into the medical field. Contemplating this rarity, Weiss thinks to himself that he only knows one person with such a special affinity. Nice. The students are captivated by a beautiful, glowing crystal ball. Esmeralda-sensei explains that this is a magic sensing crystal, a tool used to determine the nature of a person's magic, simply by holding a hand over it. As one of the students tries it out, the crystal glows a light green, exciting the class as they witness the affinity being revealed in real time. Esmeralda-sensei reveals her own dual affinity for lightning and wind, surprising the students, as the narrative explains that having multiple affinities is extremely rare, with only 1 in 1,000 possessing to the teacher. Calls for the class to line up and take turns using the magic sensing crystal to discover their own elemental natures. The students continue to line up for the affinity test. Mateo Turner is thrilled to find that his crystal turned red, confirming his talent for fire magic. When it is Yuna's turn, the crystal emits a sharp yellow glow. Esmeralda-sensei explains that this indicates a lightning affinity and a proficiency in focus magic, happily noting that Yuna is just like her. Overjoyed by the discovery that she shares the same lightning affinity as her teacher, Yuna eagerly asks Esmeralda-sensei for her guidance. As the excitement settles, it is finally Lee's turn to step forward and discover her own elemental affinity. As it is Lily's turn, Weiss watches with deep apprehension, silently praying that her affinity doesn't match his own. Lily, however, is simply amused, noting that the magic feels ticklish. With a joyful tada, the crystal erupts in a bright light, revealing her result. The brilliant glow from the crystal suddenly intensifies, erupting into a blinding white light that engulfs everything. Panicked students cry out to their teacher, terrified as the overwhelming radiance leaves them unable to see, making the room feel pitch black. A massive burst of light erupts from the crystal, illuminating the entire room in a brilliant flash. Lily and Esmeralda-sensei look on in astonishment, while the other students shield their eyes, overwhelmed by the sudden blinding radiance. As the overwhelming glare fades, the crystal is revealed to be glowing with a pure white light. Lily looks on in wide-eyed amazement, while Weiss is left completely speechless by the unprecedented result. Esmeralda-sensei explains that the pure white color indicates Lily has the light affinity, the mark of a kind mage. Lily is thrilled, eagerly asking if this means she can help her papa, and the teacher warmly confirms that she can. Beaming with happiness, Lily celebrates being a light mage as her classmates look on with smiles. As Lily beams with joy, Weiss remains silent, deep in thought. He recalls how the magic sensing crystal absorbed all light into complete darkness, before glowing white, a phenomenon he experienced himself. He remembers a line from an old magic book stating that high elves could use every single magic in the world, leading him to a startling realization. Weiss continues to ponder the nature of magic, realizing that while common elemental magics are accessible to many, special elements like light and dark require a specific affinity. Looking at the joyful Lily, he concludes that a high elf is a being who possesses these rare abilities. Weiss returns home and is greeted warmly. Filled with excitement from the day's events, Lily rushes to her father in Kumatan to proudly announce that she has been revealed as a light magic user. Aiden is genuinely amazed by Lily's result, explaining to her that light magic is incredibly rare. Beaming with pride, Lily recounts how the sensing crystal sparkled in a variety of colors. As she dances happily with Kumatan, singing about her new power, Aiden watches her with a tender smile, touched by her happiness. As night falls, Aiden watches with a smile as Lily and Kumatan play joyfully with pillows on the bed. He asks Lily if she has made any friends at school, but Lily is confused and asks if her teacher counts. Aiden gently explains that friends are people her own age that she can play and talk with. Suddenly, Lily's eyes light up as she remembers a special moment, excitedly announcing that she gave away her sword. Aiden is shocked to hear that Lily had a sword, which she explains she found that morning. Lily admits she gave it to someone who asked for it, even though she didn't really want to. Touched by her generosity, Aiden tells her that her kindness will surely help her make many friends soon. Overjoyed by his words, Lily wraps her arms around him in a tight, happy hug. Aiden holds Lily close, marveling at how sweet his daughter is. Filled with joy and love, Lily tells her father that she is going to become the kindest magic user of all. Aiden smiles softly, agreeing with Lai's heartfelt wish. As he looks at her sleeping peacefully alongside Kumatan, he promises himself that he will ensure she grows up to be the kindest magic user, viewing it as his most important responsibility as a parent. But as the scene fades, a mysterious voice suddenly notes that they seem to have a little problem. The scene shifts to a conversation about Lily's potential. A Weiss remarks that if the ancient texts about high elves are true, it makes perfect sense for her to possess an aptitude for both light and dark magic. While Esmeralda sensei initially suggests it isn't a problem since aptitude requires proper instruction to be useful, she quickly identifies the real issue. There isn't a single person at the school who can teach dark magic. Points out that Lily is completely unaware of her aptitude for dark magic, meaning she will never be able to use it unless someone teaches her. Esmeralda sensei ponders this realization before turning to Weiss and asking him how much he knows about dark magic. Esmeralda sensei bluntly tells Weiss that it's pointless to try and trick her, noting that his magic is severely clouded, a clear sign of someone who has used dark magic. Weiss laughs it off, admitting that he can never hide anything from his teacher. After dismissing his flattery, Esmeralda sensei tells him to listen closely. Esmeralda sensei sternly warns Weiss that dark magic users are shunned in their country and strictly forbids him from teaching it to Lily. Weiss calmly agrees, stating that all he wants is for Lee to live a peaceful life. After the conversation, Weiss tells Esmeralda sensei to take care of Lily as he departs. As Weiss walks away, he contemplates the precarious nature of Lily's existence, knowing that as a survivor of a rare species, danger will always follow her. He reveals that his decision to enroll the school was driven by a desire for her to be able to defend herself. Though he had prayed that her magical aptitude would be different from his own, the realization that she also possesses aptitude for dark magic. In order to live in peace, power is an absolute necessity. Absolute necessity. As what? Remembering Lily's innocent wish to become the kindest magic user, Weiss looks upon her sleeping form with a determined smile. Despite the risks, he decides that he will eventually teach her dark magic. He is confident in his guidance, vowing that he will never let her become an evil magic user, and that he will be the one to put an end to the dark history that has plagued those who wield such power. The scene transitions to a magnificent estate. Lily is greeted as Milady by a butler and a Emma as she begins her day. While enjoying a lavish breakfast, she is attended to by staff and warmly greets Akaya she calls Mom, depicting a life of absolute comfort and affection. During a quiet morning at the mansion, Lily's mother asks her about her experience at school. Lily shares that she discovered she has an affinity for lightning, just like her teacher, though her mother seems slightly surprised. The conversation then shifts as her mother asks about a specific elf girl with light blue hair, questioning if anyone in the class possessed an affinity for two different elements. Lily mentions that the other girl likely has an affinity for light and asks her mother if something is wrong. Although her mother initially dismisses the concern, her expression suddenly turns cold and serious. Addressing her as Rain, she sternly warns Lily not to let that girl beat her. Taken aback for a moment, Lily eventually looks her mother in the eye and firmly agrees. Back in the classroom, Esmeralda sensei asks the students if anyone already knows how to release their mana. Eager and confident, Lily jumps up and excitedly shouts that she can do magic, attempting to show off her abilities. However, the teacher gently tells her that there is no need to demonstrate it right this second. Lily obediently agrees to wait. Nearby, a blonde classmate watches her, wondering who Lily really is. Esmeralda sensei, thinking that Lily looks like a typical childish elf despite her blue hair, asks if anyone else knows how to release their mana. Another student raises their hand and answers in the affirmative. Lily eagerly announces that she can also release mana. Esmeralda sensei recognizes her as Rain Florencia, and as a few other students also raise their hands, the teacher notes that this year's freshmen are quite a talented bunch. Lily reflects on the fact that only 4 of them can do it, feeling confident that she is a natural at magic. Esmeralda sensei instructs all the Mika who are unable to release mana to follow her so they can get right to their lessons. As the group begins to move, Lily tries to tag along with them. However, a classmate quickly stops her, shouting that she doesn't belong with the beginners, leaving Lily looking confused. Lily asks why she cannot go with the teacher. A classmate explains that the group is specifically for those who cannot use mana so they can learn. Despite the explanation, Lily stubbornly protests, insisting that she can indeed do magic. After the explanation, Mika finally understands and thanks Lily, calling her Rain. Lily quickly corrects her, insisting that her name is Lily. Mika acknowledges this but tells her to just wait quietly for now. Lily looks a bit puzzled for a moment before finally agreeing. Lily is absolutely thrilled, exclaiming how much fun school is as she happily dances around. Mika calls out to her using the name Rain, but her gaze becomes distant and thoughtful as she wonders why her mother did something. The scene shifts away from the school to a grand residence. Inside, Weiss lies back comfortably, stretching and lost in his own thoughts. He muses to himself, wondering if he should say something like, "Don't let Lily beat you?" Weiss is suddenly startled awake by Ari, who teases him for napping the day away. Looking exhausted, Weiss admits that he couldn't sleep the previous night because he had a lot on his mind, though he quickly dismisses it and offers her some coffee. As the coffee is poured, Ari asks if Lily is at school. Weiss confirms that she is having the time of her life, mentioning that he even used his invisibility to walk her to school that morning. Ari asks Weiss what he is doing there in the middle of the day. Weiss defensively explains that he was in the neighborhood for work and decided to stop by, asking if she has a problem with that. While Ari initially claims there is no problem, she quickly changes her mind, leaving Weiss confused. As they both sip their coffee, Ari remarks on how comfortable Weiss has made himself at home. Weiss considers the burden Ari carries as the youngest assistant director from the high society Floyd family. Suspecting she cannot even relax at her parents' home, he realizes that this house is likely her only true sanctuary. As they share a quiet moment, Esmeralda-sensei chimes in, reminding them to pay more attention to Ziggline, noting that since Weiss and Ari are married, they should be more mindful. Following the suggestion to care for Ziggline, Weiss decides to be bold. He turns to her with a confident smirk and asks, "If you've got some time, want to go on a date with me?" However, his flirtation is short-lived, as Ziggline responds with a swift, powerful punch that sends him flying. Weiss and Ari navigate through a crowded city street, with Weiss noting how packed it is for a weekday. Ari, appearing flustered and blushing, tentatively asks where exactly they are going on this date. Weiss is caught off guard, admitting to himself that he blurted out the word date without thinking and hasn't planned a single thing. Walking alongside Ziggline and Lily, Weiss contemplates their current situation. Since Ziggline has taken on the role of Lee's mother, they are essentially a married couple for show. However, Weiss begins to worry, wondering if Ziggline actually wants this, or if being tied to him is pure torture. Realizing he hasn't truly considered her feelings, he determines that he must ensure they are on the same page today. Arriving at a bookstore, Weiss reminisces about how he used to follow Ari there in the past and suggests they go inside. Ari is skeptical, recalling how bored he always seemed during those visits. Once inside, Weiss watches as Ari becomes completely absorbed in a book, teasingly suggesting she just buy it since she can afford it. Ari is completely lost in the book, barely reacting to her surroundings. Weiss watches her, thinking to himself that the moment she opens a book, he ceases to exist in her world. Seeing that she hasn't noticed a thing, Weiss decides it's time to intervene. Weiss tries to snap Ari out of her trance, startling her for a brief second, but she immediately dives back into the pages. Shocked by something she's reading, exasperated, Weiss thinks about how her intense focus is exactly why everyone at school labels her an unapproachable bookworm. As he looks at her, he admits to himself that she actually has a very pretty face, lamenting that it's a waste. Weiss continues to observe Ari, thinking that if she just ditched her large glasses and cliché braids, everyone would see her true potential. He recalls how he once turned down Medici, the most popular girl in class, because he personally finds Ziggline much cuter. However, his daydreaming is violently cut short when Ari suddenly shouts, startling him out of his thoughts. As they enter the shop, the bald shopkeeper, Haru, excitedly greets Ziggline, noting that it's been. Ziggline is initially confused, but soon remembers him and apologizes for not visiting lately. She's stunned to find out Ziggline has been here many times, internally admitting he doesn't recognize the old man at all. Haru kindly tells her not to worry, explaining the shop is just a hobby, before suddenly having another realization about her. Haru recognizes Weiss as the boyfriend who used to accompany Ziggline to the shop. After a moment of confusion, Weiss corrects him, declaring that he isn't just her boyfriend but her husband. Ari, standing nearby, is left utterly stunned by the sudden revelation. Haru is absolutely delighted, exclaiming how happy he is for Ziggline. Ari, however, is completely overwhelmed and lets out a loud scream of disbelief, embarrassed by the chaos crime. Ziggline quickly grabs Weiss and forces him to leave the shop immediately. As they are dragged away, a confused Weiss wonders what's wrong with her, while Haru watches them go with a smile. Haru tells Weiss that Ziggline is a wonderful girl and warns him not to make her cry. Weiss, playing along with his lie, agrees that husbands and wives should support each other, which deeply impresses Haru. However, Ziggline quickly intervenes, shouting at Weiss to hurry up and dragging him out of the shop. Weiss casually waves goodbye to the old man as they leave. Ziggline storms off, pulling Weiss along with her. Meanwhile, Ari is left in a state of frustration, thinking to herself about how Weiss remains completely cool while casually tossing around words like date and married, leaving her wondering if he even understands the effect his words have on her. As Ari watches a happy family walking together, she is reminded of the difference between a real marriage and the temporary nature of her own situation. She thinks of Weiss, acknowledging that while they have known each other forever and he doesn't hate her, his 10-year disappearance proves there is no romantic love between them. With a melancholic expression, she convinces herself that they are strictly just friends. The moment of reflection is shattered, as Ziggline lets out a piercing scream, desperately calling for help while running away. Ari is left completely stunned by the sudden chaos, while Weiss shouts for Ziggline to wait, as he tries to keep up with her. Looking on with frustration, Weiss curses under his breath. Realizing the situation has left him with no other option, he prepares for a fight, his hands surging with power as he resolves to act. No longer hesitating, Weiss unleashes his dark magic and activates a physical boost, priming his body and power for the fight ahead. Now fully powered up, Weiss bursts into action, leaping through the air and rebounding off the walls with incredible speed to close the distance. Weiss scans the crowd with sharp intensity, but he quickly realizes that Ziggline has disappeared. Frustrated, he shouts in confusion, wondering where she could have gone, and dismissing her as a pampered lady who couldn't possibly handle a real fight. Ari shouts in panic, pleading with Weiss not to charge in on his own, but he ignores her, leaping forward with explosive force. Meanwhile, a terrified Ziggline continues to flee through the alleyways, her voice trembling as she begs for help. Ari suddenly stumbles upon a disturbing scene. Kidnappers are violently struggling to restrain an Era, intending to sell her. As one man tries to silence the resisting girl, another wonders why the ropes have loosened. Terrified and gagged, the Era pleads for help, leaving Ari shocked by the sight of the kidnappers. Ari steps forward and commands the kidnappers to release Era, declaring that human trafficking is a felony and identifying herself as an agent of the Ministry of Magic. Startled and desperate, the kidnapper quickly changes his plans, grabbing Era and holding a knife to her throat. He warns Ari to stay back, threatening to harm the girl if she takes another step. Ari feels frustrated by her inability to cast magic without her wand, wishing she possessed Weiss' skill. The kidnapper screams for her to drop the wand immediately, keeping the knife pressed firmly against Era's throat. Just as the tension peaks, Era notices something and shouts a desperate warning to Ari, telling her there is someone behind her. Just as Era warns Ari of a threat, Kumatan bursts onto the scene, sending one of the kidnappers flying with a powerful toss. With a nonchalant expression, the Kumatan asks his partner why they are taking so long and curiously wonders who the strangers are. Ari is shocked to realize there are two of them. Kumatan effortlessly lifts her up, prompting one of the kidnappers to comment on her potential selling price. Kumatan dismisses this, explaining that she is a government official here to haul them in. When the other kidnapper asks for the plan, Kumatan gives a knowing, menacing look. Kumatan holds a sharp blade close to Ari, who is trembling in terror. He mocks her, calling her a waste and lecturing her on the dangers of the capital, while she can only let out muffled cries of fear. As she faces what she believes to be her end, Ari's mind drifts to Aiden. She is overcome with regret, wishing she had told him how she truly felt, while a warm memory of Aiden, happily holding Lily, flashes through her mind. The kidnapper coldly says "see ya," as he presses the knife against Ari's throat. In a moment of sheer terror, Ari's mind races, and she realizes she isn't ready to end her life like this. With a surge of desperation, she screams Weiss' name into the void. In an instant, Weiss appears with a powerful strike, sending Kumatan flying backward through the air. Ari, stunned and breathless, can only stare in confusion as Weiss descends calmly before her, asking if she called for him. With a powerful strike, Weiss sends the threat flying, leaving Ari breathless and relieved. "Weiss!" she cries out, amazed by how quickly he appeared. As the remaining kidnapper shouts in confusion, demanding to know who he is, Weiss calmly adjusts his glove, nonchalantly acknowledging Ari's praise before he begins to introduce himself. With a chilling and intense gaze, Weiss answers the kidnapper's question, calling himself a villain. The criminal is visibly shaken by the boy's aura. Stepping forward with menacing intent, Weiss shouts at the man still clutching Ari, asking if he really wants to see what happens to the girl, leaving the kidnapper trembling in terror. Weiss stares down the kidnapper with a menacing expression, declaring that the moment Ari is killed, the kidnapper will meet the same fate. When a shocked Ziggline tries to intervene, Weiss coldly shuts her down, telling her to stay quiet. To further provoke the enemy and maintain his villainous persona, he mockingly tells the kidnapper to go ahead and kill her, claiming he couldn't care less what happens to her. Without warning, Weiss strikes the kidnapper with a powerful blow, sending him crashing away. As the man screams in frustration and pain, Weiss looks on with a cold, indifferent expression. Weiss doesn't stop his onslaught. He moves like a blur, striking the kidnapper from multiple angles in an instant. Overwhelmed and unable to keep up with the speed, the kidnapper can only shout in frustration, desperately trying to fight back against the relentless barrage of hits. With a powerful strike, Weiss knocks the knife right out of the liar's hand. The man is left stunned and defeated, unable to react as Weiss looks at him with a cold, piercing gaze and tells him to give it up. Lee raises his hands in surrender, asking if Weiss will let him go if he reveals information about his organization. While Weiss considers the offer, Lee reveals a hidden blade and lunges forward with a scream, attempting to kill Weiss in a last-ditch effort. Liar's desperate strike is instantly neutralized as Weiss catches his wrist with ease. Stunned by the boy's overwhelming reflexes and strength, Liar can only stare in disbelief, questioning how it's possible. Weiss lets out a cold laugh, warning the liar that he should have been more careful. With a manic grin and wide eyes, Weiss delivers a crushing blow that shatters everything in its path, slamming Liar's head back with overwhelming force. As he strikes, he mockingly comments that the imperial capital has been getting pretty dangerous lately. The impact is catastrophic. Lior is slammed deep into the earth, the ground shattering around him as the sheer power of Weiss' attack leaves him completely broken and defeated. Weiss stands with a cold, composed expression, seemingly unfazed by the violence he just unleashed. Beside him, Mika is left speechless, her eyes wide with disbelief as she witnesses the true extent of his power. As the guards move in to secure the alleyway and tend to the scene, Ari approaches Weiss, acknowledging his work and asking if he is finished for the day. Weiss, leaning against the wall with a bored expression, coldly replies that the orders are in and he will leave the rest of the cleanup to his overachieving subordinates.